Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 30th, 2022 Select Board meeting. We are coming out of executive session into open session, and so I call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Tonight we are being recorded and filmed and live streamed by our friends at WACA-TV. And we have some special guests here today. Our Boy Scout, what troop are you guys?
These are the Cub Scouts. They're Den 4, so this is Weave those two. This is the last year before they enter the Boy Scouts.
Oh, wow. Okay, so Den 4. All right, well, welcome, guys. And so I think one of the things that we can do tonight is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you guys like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Yeah? All right, so why don't we all stand up? And, okay, you guys can go ahead and start. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And thank you, guys. So you guys are working on your civic badge? Is that what I heard? Yeah?
They're trying to get as much exposure as possible with people in the town, government officials in the town.
Okay.
So I think everybody knows kind of what you guys do
Okay.
for the town. And there's 5 selectmen, correct?
Yes. So there's 5 of us, and so we are sort of the executive group of the town of Ashland. So if you think about it like the President of the United States, we're not like the President of the United States, but the President is an executive, and that's what we do. We set policy, and we do some important projects and make sure that we take care of the people of Ashland. And we work with Mr. Herbert here, who's our town manager, and Ms. Ball, who's our assistant town manager. And then we have some folks, I don't know, we don't have anybody for citizens participation, but we do have Susan Roby, who is also part of our office as well. So, so all of us, we do a lot of hopefully important things for the town. I heard you guys went on a tour. Did you guys go on a tour of Town Hall? Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, our meeting is not quite as exciting as probably the tour that you just went on, but we do some fun things. And hopefully this weekend you get to do some cool things for the town. We're doing Santa is coming to Ashland this Saturday, and I heard that he's going to be doing his sleigh ride around town. And yeah, we got a thumbs up. That's good. So we do citizens participation at the beginning of every meeting, and you guys are citizens. So if there's a question that you guys have, you can go ahead and ask it. Great. Can you do me a favor? Come on up. Stand up. There's a microphone right over there at that podium. Would you mind going over there and telling us your name?
Hi.
Hi.
My name's Nathan.
Hi, Nathan. Welcome.
I have a question about the trifecta on the circle of the town hall, the logo.
Oh.
What does the clock, the house, and the mountains mean?
That's a really good question. So that's the seal for the town of Ashland, and maybe Mr. Herbert can give some information on that.
So this actually, most seals that you see in cities and towns were designed in like the 1800s. This one was designed, I think, as early as 2004, and I believe it was designed maybe before that with, I believe, a Girl Scout troop and our now Senate President Karen Spilka. So to answer your question, the 3 pieces there. One is Town Hall, so that represents civic engagement. The one with the water and the trees, so that represents open space, which is something that we value very much here in Ashland. And perhaps maybe the most important one of all is the clock. Ashland is actually the home of the electric clock, whose inventor was Henry Warren. And so Henry Warren was a great benefactor for the town. He really was a captain of industry as well as agriculture here. And we actually have a Warren district named after him near Chestnut and Elliott Street.
And maybe some of you guys have been to the Warren School, right? Yeah, so that was named after Henry Warren, too. So, great. Thank you, Nathan. Thanks for your question. Anybody else have any questions? Come on up.
What do all the like the poster with like the people on it and
I can answer that
the
one.
stuff over there mean?
So that is, I'm going to answer that. So that poster represents the 5 original selectmen in 1846, when the town was incorporated. There were 5 selectmen. Back then, there were no select women, and it was called the Board of Selectmen. Today, as you can see, we have 2 women on the board. We're now called the Select Board. So that is just a real quick history of the original incorporation of the town, along with the 5 original selectmen. And those plaques on the side are a listing of all the people in Ashland residents that have served on the Select Board since 1846.
I have one more question.
Sure.
What's that?
The bank vault.
Oh.
That's where they put me when I don't behave. Like Houdini.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? Anybody else? You can ask anything you want. No? You're good?
How often do you guys meet?
So that's a good question. So we meet every 2 weeks on Wednesday nights. We usually meet the first and the third Wednesdays of every month. So this month was a little bit different. We had town meeting on the 16th. So do you guys know about town meeting? Do you guys know what town meeting is? No. So town meeting is, that's how we make all what we call legislative decisions. So anything that relates to budget, anything that relates to any major thing that happens in town, all the people, every single resident that can vote, can come to town meeting and vote. So we have what's called open town meeting, which basically allows all residents to be able to participate. So it's the most direct form of government. So town meeting would be equal to like Congress at the federal level. So except with Congress, you have like certain elected people that vote for you. Town meeting, you can come and vote on your own as soon as you're 18. So as soon as you guys turn 18, you guys got to register to vote, because voting is the most important thing you can do.
And town meeting is a lot more functional than Congress right now, too. So.
I have a question on behalf of the Scouts. Ryan Turncliffe, 21 Rossi Lane. Could you describe if you are elected or appointed officials and the difference in which committees are appointed or elected?
Oh, that's a good question. So does anybody want to jump in? Okay. I was like,
Yep. So the select board is an elected board. We are volunteers. We do not get paid. We do this to support our town. A number of the other big elected boards here in town is the school committee and our board of health. And those are the 3.
planning board.
And planning board. And planning board. So we set policy and procedure for the whole town. Planning board, they look at zoning and development and buildings, and school committee is elected and they control the schools. They look at the budget and curriculum and things like that. Then there's other appointed boards. So we as the select board appoint other boards who also do things in town. We have the conservation committee. They look at water. They look at environmental things. We have a design review that gets appointed. They look at projects that are being built. We also have a number of other committees that we appoint: open space, they're all
Cultural Council.
Sustainability,
Yeah.
Upper Charles
Conservation.
Trail,
Cultural
Conservation, Cultural Council, Council on Aging. So there's a lot of different organizations that we appoint, and those are all volunteers
Yeah.
as well.
The one committee that we don't appoint, and Mr. Turncliffe is a member of, is the Finance Committee. And the Finance Committee is appointed by the moderator, the town moderator, and the reason for that is to minimize, the political component that might result in if we were to appoint the Finance Committee. We want the Finance Committee to be very independent
And
of
neutral.
any other board and committee, any other entity.
okay.
Oh, I just thought of another one. Town Forest Committee.
All right.
Oh, that opened it
Yeah,
up.
2 hands. All right. You're closest to the microphone, so come on up.
Why were you saying that there were like 5 of you when there are 7?
That is a good, that's a good question. So, so the five of us, my name is Brandy, this is Rob and Steve and Yolanda and Joe, and the five of us are elected officials. So we are the select board, the five of us, but we work with Mr. Herbert, our town manager, and Ms. Ball, our assistant town manager. So they're employees of the town. And so we are not employees per se.
You're volunteers.
We are volunteers.
And
We
so
live,
we
we all
direct
live.
and work with them.
Yeah, we all live here in Ashland. The five of us here live in Ashland. But good question. Okay.
Just to add on to what Brandy just said, is that the board hires two employees. One of those employees is the town manager, and the other employee is town council. Those are the only two we have control over.
And counsel is
charter.
attorney,
Yeah.
the lawyer.
An attorney. Yep.
So, and Mr. Herbert's job is to run the town. So he runs all of the offices in town hall, our police, our fire. The only thing that Mr. Herbert doesn't kind of have oversight on is the schools. Schools are separate. They fall under the school committee. So, and the superintendent. So come on up.
Are you guys in charge of town events?
Good question.
Yes. Yes.
Indirectly.
What events are you talking about?
Like the Boston Marathon is one.
Oh, that's really,
That's a great question.
So the Boston Marathon is run by the Boston Marathon Organization, the BAA.
Oh,
Boston Athletic Association. How we're associated with it is they run through our town, and they get a permit from us and they're allowed to run through town, which of course we would do. And as part of that, we get numbers for charity runners for the Boston Marathon. We get typically 20 numbers, 20 or 22, and we have then residents who get on the list for those numbers, and it helps us raise funds for projects that we do here in town. But we have no direct input on how the marathon gets run.
oh, okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yes, thank
And
you.
there's also town staff, so that do other events in town. So
Right.
things that are like a corner spot, or things that are happening.
Holiday events.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like town sponsored things that happen in Ashland that go through Mr. Herbert's office and the people that work with him.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Come on up. I love all the questions. You guys are great.
Could you explain your jobs, like your positions for the town board?
Oh my goodness. So my job, I am the chairperson of the select board, and we all rotate jobs. So my job is to run our board meetings and make sure that we plan and we have an agenda that everyone can participate in. And my job is also to make sure that everyone's voices are heard, and that's my job.
I'll add something. So, for an example, like tonight, the finance director is going to come to us and say that we should raise the trash fees because we're not generating enough fees to cover the contract costs, and we're going to have a deficit. So that's something we're going to be wrestling with tonight. What do you guys think? Should we raise the trash fees or what? Just raise your hands.
Your parents are going to have stronger opinions.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say,
right.
smart move.
Explain
Smart
what the
move.
vice chair is.
Oh, the vice chair. So I'm the vice chair. Should this woman falter, I will take over. But, I just help run meetings and set the agenda. So,
Yeah.
and the rest of the members are
Well,
here.
I'm actually the most important position here. I'm the clerk, and I sign documents, and I'm only teasing about the importance, but sign documents, and I'm supposed to take notes at meetings, but fortunately we have other transcribers, so I can participate better. But so I'll turn it over to Yolanda.
Sure. So I'm what's called just a general member. I don't have a specific role right now. But the other thing we do as select board members is that as select board members, we might reach out or we might participate in regional organizations or organizations where we can bring information back. And we get to decide as select board members what we have time for and how we want to help the town. So I personally, I'm also associated with what's called the Metro West Regional Collaborative, which is part of a larger organization that's a big planning organization. So I represent Ashland, and I go to those meetings and bring information back from those meetings to our meetings, or I take things that we're talking about and go to those regional meetings. Also, as projects happen in town, sometimes we need advocacy for that. And many of us have advocated for the Route 126 project because even though it's happening in Ashland, it's actually dollars from the state and federal government that are being used for that. So we had to go and talk to people to make sure that could happen.
And finally, I'm the last one. I'm a general member. I was former chair. Brandy was my vice chair at the time, and now I'm sitting at the end of the table where I should be, so out of sight, out of mind. No, but I'm also part of other committees in the community. Ashland Affordable Housing Trust, we try to make sure that Ashland has enough affordable housing for folks that live in town, that want to stay in town, and especially some of the older folks. We're looking for the elderly to have more housing so they can stay in town where they grew up. I mean, I was born and raised here, just like you guys were probably born and raised here too. So, pretty good. Yep. Oh, yeah, we have to read that, right?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Yep. We have to do a quick interruption.
Okay, so, sorry.
Hold on one second, guys. This is government at its finest.
Hang
So-
in there.
Yep, one moment, guys.
Let's do a little work.
So, thank you, Yolanda. We had, at 7:10, on the agenda was a vote to close the tax classification hearing. At our last regular meeting before town meeting, we had Rich Ball, our assessor, here, and we had opened up the tax classification hearing. And we did get word today that the financial documents are not ready yet to close the hearing. So I would ask if we can, for a motion for a continuance to 12/7.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes 5-0, so we will continue that hearing until December 7th at 7:10. Okay, and let me just check the time, because we have
We
another.
got like 2 minutes
we
before
have-
the next one, so I would say wrap up.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if there's one more question, come on up.
What do you do at these meetings?
Oh, so that is a good question. So we have an agenda, and we have lots of things that we have to cover that we decide that we need to talk about. We take votes, and all 5 of us have an equal vote. And so anything that we need to make decisions on, we all vote on at our meetings. And so sometimes our meetings can be kind of short, but most of the times they're pretty long. So sometimes we're here past 10 o'clock, which is late. So past your bedtime.
No comment.
We won't have you guys here till 10 o'clock. So,
All right, guys, why don't you say thank you? This was great. This was really good.
thank you
good.
guys.
Nice to meet you
guys
all.
had great questions. I think you all earned your civic badge. And thank you all for being here.
And good luck.
Yeah.
And good luck with the transfer.
And
becoming
anytime you want to
scouts.
come
Good
back
job.
or have any questions, come find us, because
Yep.
we're,
Happy to answer more questions.
yep. All right.
Great job, John.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, guys. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, see you guys.
Bye, fellas.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Have a good night. Happy holidays.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
See you, Ryan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye, Ryan.
Bye,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Take care.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda,
Perfect.
I apologize for we kind of got that was fun, though. That's more fun than we usually have. It's awesome. So
Fun stuff.
we do have, we were supposed to have, I'm going to continue to do citizens participation, but we'll kind of, let's get through the scheduled appearances first, and then we'll kind of go through the rest of citizens participation tonight. But we will have, we have a distinguished budget award presentation, but first, let's go ahead and just read the legal notice for the, we have a public hearing as a change of manager at Ashland Fish and Game Incorporated at 3 Ponderosa Road, the change of manager to Ronald D. Wrights Jr., and I'm going to read the legal notice and open the hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Select Board will conduct a hearing regarding a change of manager at the Ashland Fish and Game Incorporated. The applicant is Ronald D. Wrights Jr., Ashland Fish and Game Club Incorporated, 3 Ponderosa Road, Ashland, Mass. 01721. A public hearing will be held on the matter on Wednesday, November 30th, 2022 at 7:20 p.m. Persons wishing to be heard on this matter are invited to attend the public hearing in person or by logging into the Zoom meeting. Interested parties who are unable to attend the hearing may submit written comments to the Select Board's office, Town Hall 101 Main Street, Ashland, Mass. 01721, or by emailing Susan Roby at sroby@ashlandmass.com. Brandy Kinsman, Chair, Select Board. Okay. So let's go ahead and could I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing is open. And I assume, are you Ronald? I am. Come on up. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about?
Good evening. My name's Ron Reeks. I live at 22 Tower Road in Ashland. I've lived here since '86. Well, I bought the house in '86, and I've lived in Ashland 10 years before that.
Okay.
I have a business in town. I've been in business. I've used car lot in town. I've been here over 30 years.
Okay.
In the same location. I've been a member at the Fish for as many years, and I've been a board member for the last 3 years. And the board has asked me if I would take on the bar manager job. And I said I was willing to do it. I've got extra time now because I'm slowing down a little bit on the fast stuff.
Okay.
I have extra time on my hands, and I like the club, and we've been in a long time we've done a lot of work lately, and it's getting much better over there.
Okay.
We
Great.
have, a lot of participation from the town now with baseball and soccer. We had the fishing derby for the kids. I enjoy it there, so I think it'll be a job that I can do and enjoy at the same time, hopefully do a good job at it.
Great. You want to go ahead, Joe?
If I may,
Sure.
if you're going to ask for comments, I've known Ron for a number of years. I would say close to 30. And I can tell you that this gentleman in front of us right now is a man of integrity. He works very hard. He's a family man. Don't let the beard fool you. You know, he's got a heart as big as anybody, and he's a real nice man. And I know that when he says he's going to do something, he's going to make it right. It's nice to see you in charge over there.
Appreciate that, Joe.
And I really mean that. You know.
I know you do.
And I wish you the best of success. The Fish at one time was a great place to go. It hit some low spots, but I think with you being there and attracting the members that you now have and are acquiring, it's going to come back to what it once was. And I'm sure you are, and I hope that I hope the board approves. I hope the board approves of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on behalf? I'm looking at Diane. She doesn't wish to speak. Okay. All right. Is there anyone on Zoom that is here to speak either for or against? No.
Did we receive any emails or letters from Sue? Did we get
Susan, was
anything?
there anything that we received? Any comments? No?
Okay.
No, nothing.
Okay. And all the paperwork is in order that has come in? No? Yes. Everything is in order, right, Susan? All the paperwork?
You're muted
You're
again,
muted.
Susan.
Yeah, hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Now
now
we
we can
can.
hear you, yes. Did you hear the question? Like, did all the paperwork that needed to be filed, is that all in good order?
You just muted again. You just muted yourself again, Susan.
Diane's good.
Okay.
Diane, yes? Okay.
Question, do
So-
we require tip certification for the manager?
You do.
Because typically it's part of our packet,
I didn't-
card or information about their tip
The cards-
certification?
The cards didn't come in yet.
Okay.
They did today, so
Okay.
this afternoon, the person that did the test for us is gonna bring them to the club. I'll have it tomorrow, but he told me when we took the test to do it, take a picture on the phone, because this was gonna come up.
Okay. Okay, I'm like,
Yep.
typically I think we
You got
see
it.
at the car, okay, so
Yeah.
your tip, okay.
Absolutely.
So I would
That's
just
all.
say, make sure you get copies of that to Susan to be added to your
Definitely will be
files.
done. This is what they say. It's what he told me I should do, because this was.
That's
gonna be
fine.
definitely
Okay,
something that came
yeah.
up with this when I got
Okay.
here, so.
Okay.
I would just say that, you know, what you.
Ryan,
I
you
think
just dropped,
it.
Just drop something.
Um,
Okay.
You know, I would say it's one of those things where it might be we
No,
approve
no.
it and
Okay.
Nope.
when we get the
Conditional-
certification on
Conditional
file.
on the,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
the
but
tip
otherwise.
certification, okay. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
No, I think Joe gave a tremendous endorsement.
Okay.
Works for me.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. If there's no more comments or questions, we can go ahead and, motion to close.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then a motion to.
You're abstaining?
I have to abstain, Madam Chair. because of
Abstaining
the-
from the closing of the hearing?
No, I'm abstaining
No.
from.
Oh, okay.
The
okay,
next vote.
Gotcha,
For the next
okay,
vote.
for the
I
next vote.
move that we appoint Ronald Dean Reitz Jr. as the new manager for Ashland Fish and Game and wish him well luck, once approved, once we get a copy of the tip certification.
Okay.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And
And I have to abstain.
abstain?
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
so that passes 401. Congratulations, Ron. Welcome.
very much.
I would
Best of
say
luck.
welcome, but it's not,
I'm
it's,
pretty
You've been in town a while.
schooled around town, but
That's
thank
awesome.
you very much, appreciate it, and we'll do our best to make sure you never have any phone calls.
that's a
Yes,
great,
that would be greatly
That would be
appreciated.
greatly
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Ron. Good luck.
All right, sounds good. All right. Okay, so thank you for that. And Brittany, I know you've been waiting patiently through the Boy Scouts and everything too, so I appreciate, so, so going back, we had kind of, originally it was supposed to be scheduled for 7:05, a distinguished budget award presentation. Michael, can I turn it over to you to introduce Brittany?
Of course.
Okay.
So we were notified in November that we were awarded for the 5th time GFOA Distinguished Budget Award. As I've talked about previously, the Distinguished Budget Award is the highest form of recognition in governmental budgeting, and its attainment represents a significant achievement by our organization. And the principal person who's responsible for putting together our budget and our budget document, and therefore our budget award, is our finance director, Brittany Capone. So, Brittany, if you want to come up and say a few words and talk a little bit about the process, because I know it changed a bit this year.
Thank you. So this budget process was a little bit more strict than in prior years. They had to put a bit more criteria to the document in order to receive the award. So this year we added performance indicators, but they also act as workload indicators for departments. You can see how they're doing, if they're meeting deadlines, if they're doing a process in an appropriate time, and then if we're not meeting something, maybe there's a reason behind it or something we can change. But that's something new that we added to this budget season that will continue on in the next year as well. So yeah, it's a collaborative effort among everyone, and we got the job done again.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Yolanda.
Congratulations. I know working with numbers and budget is a hard thing, and sometimes it's certainly a moving target here in town. So it's great that you're continuing to do that, and you and your staff can get that done. Do we apply and submit our budget to the MMA budget process? Because don't they have something as well?
They do not have one specifically for budget. They have one for website. But
Don't they, or annual report?
maybe an annual report one,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm pretty
We
sure they
don't.
don't have a budget one.
Okay, okay. More recognition, the better, if you're doing a good job,
Yeah.
so. But thank you and congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, Brittany, for all the work. Does this help with the Standards and Poor classification to some degree?
You know, I think for them, it makes it easier for them to review our budgetary documentation as they're evaluating and deciding whether or not to, keep us at AAA. I think, one of the things that Brittany does that makes this budget document so thorough is that she includes our financial policies, our forecasts, the financial trend analysis, all of that stuff, which I know Standard & Poor's loves to see, the things like the policies, more importantly, that we're following the policies, and all of that, trend data and documentation.
Yeah. Thank you for all you do.
Steve, go ahead.
So Michael just mentioned the trend analysis, and I remember you gave us a great presentation, a number, I think it was pre-COVID, so it's a number of years ago, right? I think it would be great to have another presentation like that. I thought that information was interesting and valuable, and be curious as to where we stand today relative to,
Add on a few more years and kind of project it out. It was the 10 years prior. It's usually, so we're in 22, so it'd be 21 and prior.
yeah.
We could always try to forecast out so that information's a little bit more relevant.
Yeah, yeah, I'd love to have that on an agenda coming up, and
January.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great.
let's-
Change it up a bit, maybe
Yeah.
include comparisons to other towns and not just.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating information. Yeah,
That's a really great idea.
And an update, and at the same time, an update where we are with our fiscal '23 budget.
So I'll talk about that tonight, actually a little bit later.
great. Thanks, Brett.
Do you
So-
have anything you want to?
Oh, no,
just-
just congratulations,
yeah.
Brittany. It's good.
So,
Good
thank
job.
you, Brittany.
I do want to say with Britt, so her, Brittany is not only the finance director, she's the town accountant. And she has one person working with her in that role, which is Carol Bogdanovich. But the fact that Brittany and Carol can do all of the accounting stuff, which has statutory responsibilities and requirements, and the AP warrants, the payroll warrants, everything like that, and then also manage to put together a budget and then find the time to put together the documentation that they do and put everything all together is really a testament to the work that Brittany and Carol do. It's pretty, for that small a team to, get the accolades that they do while doing the day-to-day work that they do is pretty special. So it gets a little, the first time you get the award, it's like, yeah, we did it, we finally did it. And then, even the second year and third year, you get to the fifth, some of that newness kind of wears off. But I think it's really, really important that we just continue to encourage this. So
And
good
I-
job, Brittany.
And I think it would be great, like, it's such a lot of work, and I think that if we can help the public understand that this is out there, that they can see, because we get some questions about budgets all the time, and it's all there. It's just trying to, so I think, maybe if we can figure out how we can make it more public, what is out there.
All the information's available online, right? Like, people can go and look at all the budget documents, and I would just,
Yeah,
Okay.
you just have to hunt for, you have to kind of.
You have to look, right.
Yeah, so.
We did have the visual budget going on for a while.
We still have that,
Yeah.
the ClearGov.
Yeah, the ClearGov,
Yeah.
and that's a great visual tool
Yeah.
for residents to see how much, what they're getting for their money, let's put it that way.
Yeah, so Brittany includes all of the budgets on her website, also all the quarterly reports, because, going back now a few years, so all the quarterly finance reports are there as well. Did you bring the plaque?
I did, but I don't have my new medallion yet, so it's not, I don't have the 5 on there yet.
Okay,
That's funny.
yeah. So,
Well,
Hold off on the picture.
oh, there you go. All right. Well, congratulations. So it speaks a lot to the work that you do, and how much we value our budget process in town too, and it's important stuff. So thank you.
Madam Chair, if I may, it also speaks a lot to our town manager who hired you.
And kept you here.
And kept you here. And that's the key.
Yep.
And that is the key, keeping you here, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate that, but she does all the
Yeah.
work for sure.
Well, thank Carol for us as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, remember that first budget, Brittany? Here you go.
Does anybody else have any comments, questions,
No.
anything? We're good?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brittany. So I just want to go back to, we had citizens' participation with the Cub Scouts, but we didn't open it really up to the public. If there's anyone that wants to participate tonight, please go ahead and use the raise hand function on Zoom. Mark Dezzoni, are you unmuted?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
I'll be turning my TV off.
Okay. I was going to say, there's a little bit of feedback there.
Watching the World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you, Mark?
Zoom is not doing any audio, so that's why I have the TV on.
Ah,
So I'm going to just make sure that, I was glad to see the Cub Scouts come up and ask questions. It's good to have youth come up and have thoughts that they can say out loud. But now you come out to the other end here and up here at Hawthorne Roadway, that we are doing well and everything. And I get to see my dad, who's getting stronger. He's 97 now, and he's getting all the care. And all else is doing good. And the town needs to be young again, but I know it has everything else to go for it. My only question, if it is a question, depends how my thought process comes out, is when are the Christmas lights going to be going up?
This weekend, yeah.
so
Yeah,
this
the holiday lighting is this weekend, Mark,
Saturday.
this Saturday.
A little bit different.
Yeah. So the tree lighting and the lights is going to be happening downtown for like 3:30 to 5 o'clock. I think it's going to be 4:30.
4:30
4:30 that the lights will go on.
But I don't think it's all. But I don't think it's all the trees this year. I think they're putting a Christmas tree in Montenegro Square to be lit. And then we have the spheres that you see around town. I don't think they're doing all the trees because of all
the
work.
downtown.
Yeah, the
Yeah, it's going to be a little
Yeah.
different this year.
Yeah. So, but as of Saturday, there'll be some lights up, Mark. Okay? We're good? Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, thank you, Mark. Okay. Moving on our agenda to old new business. Discuss the select board meeting schedule for 2023. We had the calendars in our packet. I know the last couple months our schedule has been kind of off due to Jewish holidays and scheduling and town meeting and everything else. But I think as of our next meeting, we're going back to the first meeting in December. And then for next year, we're scheduled for the first and third Wednesdays of each month, unless anyone else has any issues or questions.
No, I mean, looking
No,
at
we
it,
did.
it looks like it's not interfering with any Jewish holidays or anything like
No.
that for 2023, so.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Is any-
In May, what are we doing with town meeting?
So town meeting's the first Wednesday
So that's
in
the
May.
third, yeah.
So we typically have a meeting before town, like
So
right
it'll
before
just
town
be
meeting.
regular schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Which is on the 17th, which is our
Yeah.
regular scheduled meeting for May.
Yes.
But May
it'll-
3rd is,
will be town
we'll have
meeting.
a brief meeting and then town.
Yeah.
probably.
Yep.
Yeah, our pre-town meeting.
Is there anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I think
I
that's.
thought our spring meeting was on a Tuesday.
Hmm?
Always Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. If there's no other comments or questions, we'll plan for that. The next item on our agenda is discuss trash fees. Michael, I'm turning this over to you.
Bring the Cub Scouts back.
I know,
Yeah.
seriously.
See
Gonna
what
say, is
they
this
have
why
to say about
Mr.
this.
Small is here?
They were
I
outside taking a vote.
know, and
Can they
Brittany's,
vote? They were outside
Brittany's
taking
sticking
a
around
vote.
for it too, so. Moral support.
Yeah. So we, you know, this is something that we have discussed off and on over the past year, the fact that we are going to have to look at, unfortunately, raising trash fees to cover the cost of the contract. The last contract we had was really, really, really good. So when we did the new one and we went out to bid, we saw a pretty steep increase. But even before we signed that new contract, we were seeing our savings, our retained earnings erode because we would have to use that each year to help balance the budget. So we are kind of coming to the point of no return with regards to that practice. So Brittany and Doug have worked together for months now trying to put together a proposal that would basically balance things out as best as possible while still raising the revenue that's necessary. And so I'll turn it over to you two. Brittany, if you want to go through, Brittany and Doug, if you want to go through your proposal here.
So, trash enterprise fund.
Can we share what we got in our packet?
It should be a memo and
Well,
Yeah,
we
I
have
can-
it,
We
but
have
if
it.
we
If
can
we can
share
put
it
it on
to
the
the, to
screen.
the screen so people who are watching can know what what we're looking at and talking about.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see when
If we can get Michael to share it.
we, yeah, I can do it. I
can do
just
it.
want to see
Okay.
the best one to put up there.
Good, should have been planned for.
No, it's planned. It's planned. I just want
Okay.
to make sure I got the right page.
Okay.
So,
Is this laptop off limits?
yeah. It's getting there.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Do you need a hard copy, Britt? Okay. Of course you're prepared. Why did I even ask?
Yeah. All right, so going back to the trash and recycling enterprise fund. Unfortunately, over the past couple of years, we've had to dip into retained earnings to balance the budget. To date, we've utilized about $1 million in retained earnings. So we have been using it to offset costs. Unfortunately, the trash removal costs have gotten, when we went to bid, have just gotten too far in the market. It's too much now, and we're at the point where we need to increase the flat fee and the bag cost to cover the deficit in FY24. This would really just cover the deficit in FY24, and then we'd have to take a look back, revisit it next year, and look at the forecast again. There is a forecast in your packet as well. We could discuss it a little bit.
Can we ask questions while you're?
Oh, yeah,
So
sure.
retained earnings, you've explained we've used it for, to balance the enterprise fund. What would you use it for other than that? You know, I understand water and sewer and the uses of retained earnings, the need for that, but with the pay-as-you-go, what's the purpose of retained earnings?
I thought in the past we purchased carts.
Yep. So we have viewed in the past, and this is even before my time, we've utilized retained earnings and saved up retained earnings to purchase carts. That's mainly been it. We have also, I don't know if we did it for trucks. Doug, you might have a better idea, because that would have been before my time. Utilized it to help offset the cost of trucks, so it's not factored into your ongoing trash fees.
Okay. I mean, I think it's, I think best practices is always to budget for some level of retained earnings, but just thinking about it, wasn't quite sure what you would use it for with trash. I mean, whether it's for some specific piece of equipment or so on, I get, but.
Yeah, I mean, what I would have loved at some point would have been to, if we were able to keep retained earnings at a high level, is we could perhaps look at some changes in our trash program. Do we want to go to carts for everything else?
Yeah.
But, now that's out of the way.
This is one of the issues is the, every day, we don't know what the price of recycling, if we're gonna make money, lose money, it's a gamble. I think right now it's at $129 a ton is what we went into to this new contract year at, and every day that number changes. So if it could go the other way where we end up paying $129 a ton for recycling. So maybe the retained earnings is kind of hedging things, hedging our bets, on the recycling market.
Are we still making money on the recycling?
Yeah, not much.
Oh,
well, we're not making money, but it's less than $129.
Okay.
Every month.
So it
but
only, with Steve starting this, I mean, I look at this retained earnings, from 16 to 18. Was that because of recycle doing better than we thought? I mean, how did we get that large? I mean, I see that retained earning. How did we get to that large retained earnings?
I think a part of it was renegotiation of contracts and keeping it at a pretty
and not
good
changing
level.
Our fee or
yeah.
anything.
No,
Okay.
we actually reduced our fee.
Yeah, we haven't changed our fee in 10 years aside from reducing it.
We reduced our fee from 154 to 146 when we negotiated the last contract, which I believe was in 2015. That's one of the reasons why we got put in the hole.
And that's why where we are now, because we reduced the fee with the change of the contract. Okay.
How does that work? So people buy the bags, but do we pay them per bag, or is it by tonnage for the trash?
So for the trash, so you pay a base fee for hauling, right? The transportation, and then you pay a cost for disposal. So what is your tipping fee? So what we lowered from 154 to 146 was the base fee.
Oh, the base fee, not the bag
we didn't
fee.
change the bag revenue at all. So, and how that works is I go and I say, hey, let's lower the fee. And the board votes yes.
Oh, sure, yeah, great.
So,
otherwise, as far as I know, hasn't been increased the fee in quite some time.
No.
Has the bag fee changed at all?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I don't think in over a decade that I know of. I've been here now for almost 8 years.
Is the fee a quarterly fee, or is that the
annual?
Annual.
It's
oh.
annual. The flat fee's annual.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I believe it's billed out in August. August.
I should know that.
Yep. So we tried looking at a hybrid approach to increasing the flat fee and also the bag fee to make it fair to people that, recycle more. So we are looking at about a 50% increase in the regular flat fee. And then for seniors, it'd be a 50% increase as well. So regular would go from 146 to 219, and that's on page 2. The seniors would go from 78 to 117. So they're both going up 50%, but the difference between the regular rate and the senior rate would actually increase from $68 to $102. Yes.
On the senior rate, is that for all seniors, or do they have to apply for that? Is there a
They have to apply for it.
Is there an income
It's an income thing, right?
thing? So not
Is it
just
an
just
income?
because you're a senior doesn't mean you get it. It has to be within a certain income, I would think.
No, I think the trash is for seniors over a certain age.
Yeah, I thought it was just, I don't think it's an
I don't
income
think it's a qualification.
restriction. I think it's just
age tested.
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But it's still something you have to apply for.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so we have 1,108 seniors
Oh.
that take advantage of that rate.
Households.
Households.
It's households.
Yes, households.
We have a
With-
hell of a
with-
lot more seniors than
Well,
108.
I
Just trying to be optimistic.
want to look at.
There's a number of them on this board.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, I look at some of our seniors and, just because you're 65 doesn't mean you're on a fixed income and can't afford it. And is it something, not that I want to have them pay more, but if everyone's cost is going up and it goes to some of those other things. If you're someone who can afford a full rate and we're giving you a discount just because you're 65, we then have other families who are not of senior age but are in fixed incomes and they're not getting any kind of abatement?
Well, you could slice and dice that one a lot of different ways. I mean, you
Yeah.
have seniors, seniors that are paying for, the full load for the schools. And which, not a complaint, but the reality is, we're all shouldering the cost of that. So you want to slice and dice, the who's paying for what. We can, we need to get into the weeds a little bit.
could debate that, but now's not the time for that. Okay, never mind.
No.
Always
Well,
time
it is-
to-
it's not a
always
bad-
good to- It's
it's
always
not a
good to
bad
look at
thought.
what we're doing and why
Yeah,
we're doing things.
right.
So-
Especially, it's not a
This was just, I
needs-based
mean, this is an
program.
option. It's a,
Right,
there's
it's
so
not a
many
needs-based.
different
If you're
ways
65
to,
and older, you get the discount.
Yeah.
And
No.
So Brittany, just looking at, I know actually, why don't you keep going?
Yeah.
And then we'll ask
Okay.
more questions,
Sure.
because I have some specific stuff, but we haven't covered
Okay.
that yet, so.
so for the flat fee, that was the intent there, was to raise it 50%, for the regular and for the seniors to generate, about $400,000 in income. It would keep the difference between the seniors and the, regular households at a greater rate, actually. And then looking at the bag costs, we're recommending to increase by about 40% for the large and the small bags. On the third page, the large bag would go from $1.80 to $2.52. That's actually going to be $2.50, just to make it even. And then on the small bag, it would be from $1.05 to not $1.47, $1.50. I was going to round up. There's just a little typo on this spreadsheet. So doing so would generate an additional $200,000 in income just from that increase.
Right now, when you buy a roll, it's $9 for a large roll.
Yeah, so I have some, trying to look at. So attachment C and D quickly, I was just trying to provide some sliding scales as to if you
Yeah.
increased it by 5%, 10%, you know, it just seemed to be the fair to increase it by that amount for the flat fee and then the
Yeah.
bag cost for people that
Yep,
recycle more.
That makes sense
Yeah,
to
so
do
Yeah.
both.
I think the interesting thing is, you know, you're making a proposal to balance this year. You also have the sheet that is projecting through '27.
Yes.
So every year, now our revenue being generated has increased every year as well, and I don't know, but you're maintaining that revenue level flat. And you're showing a deficit for all of those next 3 years after we
Right.
take care of '24. So when you look at that chart there, you know, the next year, if there's no revenue increase, we're gonna have to raise it another, let's say, 5% to make up that delta. And then the next year after that, I think it's like a 20% increase to make up the delta. So, you know, ultimately, where are we heading with this?
We could put together a more hybrid approach to increasing the rates or increase it now by the 50%. Next year, look at maybe whatever the percent increase is for that year. Maybe not just increase it all in 1 year and do more of a phased approach and then revisit every year just to see what it does look like, the financials do look like, and how much revenue it is generating, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like it's gonna
maybe
take a few
people will recycle more,
years.
maybe we'll get credits, a ton more credits on the
Yeah.
bills, and
Yeah, so it looks like a combination of like a perfect storm in a sense, that we never raised rates. In fact, we reduced it. We've got issues with the cost of services going up. And, you know, I think it's gonna take a few years before we get to the point where our increases will be more modest, possibly,
Yeah.
rather than these big jumps that we're
Right.
right now
Right.
having to consume.
Yep.
right, yeah, because we're looking at, you know, probably a good 10 years where it went down a little bit and not up, and it's,
Do we know what's gonna happen with the contract? I mean, that's your expense you're projecting.
so
right?
the forecast was, it was forecasted out through the end of the contract term.
27,
Yeah, so
right?
27.
And then you use the maximum.
I did, I used the maximum.
Inflationary amount.
4%.
Inflation, the 4%.
Which is the max. So we put a ceiling on it.
Yep. Yeah.
So given the fact that we have a contract that's to 2027, are there any stipulations in that contract that allow to open up the door to renegotiate? And the reason why I say that is for the last several months, the service in this town has been somewhat speculative at best. And it's not because of the town's issue, it's because of the trash company, you know, either they're trying to stretch their, you know, their pennies as much as they can because the equipment is failing, or they're not able to hire people that are willing to do the job.
Yep.
So, I mean, are we looking at something like that to renegotiate? So if it continues, if that progressive in the lack of the quality of service, I guess I would have to ask, or say, is we reopen that up for renegotiations? Because I think that's, you know, the people in town are paying for this service, and when you drive through town and you notice that, you know, the trash is piling up on the side of the road because they haven't been picked up or whatever, it is somewhat concerning.
Yeah, I agree. So the two things that we have in the contract that we currently have is we have the ability to penalize and have liquidated damages associated with this. And we also have the ability to terminate the contract for cause. So if they're out of compliance, they have a certain period of time within they have to rectify the issue, or we can terminate the contract. Doug and I have been looking at both of those options as part of, you know, this past week, and dealing with the issues of the past week. The penalties really seem to be the way to go right now. Continuing with the penalties seem to be the way to go. My problem is that as bad as we have it now, it's worse in other places, and I don't know if there's another hauler out there who is actually going to be better and provide better service than what we have.
No, Michael and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I just in years past, and we've had this company for quite some time, the quality of service has been very, very, very good.
Agreed.
So, but to see this all of a sudden within the last 2 years, the service and non-pickup or the equipment failing, you know, having vehicles, you know, broken down on the side of the road and having to, you know, explain to the folks, sorry. I'm sure you folks are hearing it more than we are. You know, they're calling your offices, you know, hey, my trash hasn't been picked up, the weekend's coming, blah, 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 blah. I get it, Doug. I get it. So, you know, it's not fair to the folks that, you know, answer those calls and have an answer for them. So if these things are available, I mean, we didn't have that 2 or 3 years ago. It's just within the last year or so that this is taken precedence. And I hope at some point we you know, there's always one other another option, like you said, and if other trash pickup people are having the same issue, then you know, then maybe we should entertain looking at picking up our own trash.
I heard Framingham looking the other way.
Okay, I was going to use Framingham because they are picking up their own trash, but they're not the thing about going back. Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
So I have a question. We're getting some feedback. Is the
Oh, okay.
That was me, sorry.
is that was you? So the costs that have like risen, is that because is it on the fixed side with the, because like Michael was saying, there's kind of like two components to the costs. There's the actual like physical haulers, and then there's the disposal costs. Is one gone up more?
Yeah, that's
More than the other? Like if we're trying to encourage people to do something like composting, and it reduces the number of bags people have, will that reduce our overall costs, or will that put us more in a deficit kind of going forward?
Are you referring more to like the bag cost if people purchase less bags?
Less bags.
From like a stability standpoint, financially, I would love to just increase the flat fee because it's more of a stable revenue source for the town. To be fair, we tried shifting some of the burden onto the bag costs as well. So that's another reason to revisit this next year, just to see how we're doing with the collection of the bag cost revenue as well. And if necessary, we might need to increase the flat fee a little bit more. if people find alternative ways, or maybe there's people out there that still aren't recycling, and now they decide that they're gonna recycle more. The bags, unfortunately, are just a less reliable source of income. It's a variable rate, and you cannot predict how much people are gonna buy.
That's it. Are you seeing that variation in bag purchases?
Yes, yeah. It does vary from year to year.
Really?
And I try to base it on a trend, and then COVID kind of messed it all up. There really is no trend now the last couple of years.
Well, I would think one of the things with increasing these rates, I would think you see the bag purchase, the amount go down once they go to the supermarket and say, oh, it's gone up by this much.
Yeah, I think we're incentivizing people to dump their trash somewhere else. And I think that's probably, for some folks, probably a regular activity is to take it to a dumpster somewhere.
Well, they do have, I mean, residents do have the opportunity to opt out of our trash service. Now, they have to provide evidence that they have contracted with their own hauler, and that hauler is actually providing that service. But Doug's looking like he wants to chime in on that one.
If I may, just a little bit.
Here's the analysis of the.
Okay. I just wanted to talk about, I think you were asking about the cost, the annual cost. So the labor costs have gone up every year, and also the disposal costs go up every year. Those are the two problems. But overall, if you look at 12 months, I mean, if you still take the cost for this program for the residents, you still it's still not it's not that expensive, you know. But the problem is we only bill once a year.
Right.
If we're able to bill twice a year, you know, it could take.
That's a good point.
Could be a lot easier for people.
Is that something we can do? Can we look
Increase
at?
our
just that
administrative
flat
costs,
fee.
right? If you
Yeah,
go
we'd
to
have
two
to-
times a year versus once a year, that's the only thing I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you finding people have difficulty paying that fee?
I'll just say, if you're looking at about 150 now for the base fee, 146. Now we're going to be asking for 225, I think. You know, it's
219.
kinda- all of a sudden, we're in the cable territory, you know. So, but
It's about 60 cents a day. It looks like for the full load, 60 cents a day.
So you,
That's the fee, the flat fee.
Flat fee,
Yeah.
yeah.
So Brittany, you mentioned that even if we go forward with this, we would have to potentially relook at it next year.
I would revisit it
Recommend
again
that. So
next year to see how the bag.
So my
costs are
recommendation,
going.
and you know, Steve, you said, you know, we have to look at, if we're gonna look at this senior discount, we have to look at taxes, and in actuality, we don't. This is purposely separated out of our taxes, because it's a user thing, right? If you use trash, you pay for a trash fee.
Can't claim it either.
If
Yeah.
you use a bag,
That's true.
you pay for the bag.
All that is true.
So from a perspective of a senior discount, just because you're over 65 and you now get this discount, I think we need to look at that, either changing the age or potentially making it income-based. Because,
Yeah. I'll bring it up tomorrow at the Council on Aging meeting.
oh, I'm sure they
We'll
won't
see,
approve it. I
we'll
mean, I'm
Well,
sure
it's
they.
interesting.
I mean,
I'd be interested to hear the reaction.
it
A
would be
lot of them on
interesting
there are-
from a perspective of people are working until they're older. They have more disposable income sometimes as they get older. So we should at least look at it. Just because you're over 65, I mean, yeah, you get some benefits, but you're still using the trash. You are getting your trash picked up potentially on a weekly basis. I just think it's something we need to look at.
that's
That's all.
interesting.
We don't have to do it for this time.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we're gonna look at it again, it's
Yeah.
something we need to look at.
But look at it in its totality, because, you know, let's say a single senior, how much trash are they generating? In my household, we generate very, very little trash, really. I mean, we recycle a lot, and it's just the nature of, you know, how we consume today. So I think we have to look at a lot of things before you just look at, you know,
But I
Well,
would
that's
also,
it.
I would
Looking at
also
the
say, like,
numbers.
our household generates very little actual bagged trash, because we
you do
compost.
the composting.
Right, same
And
here.
so everything's,
Yeah.
we put out one bag every 2 weeks. Like, that's, you know, we don't,
Yep, same here.
yeah, so.
And also, there's nothing in here about household size. So whether you're a senior or you're a single young person, you're still
You're paying the flat fee,
the
right?
flat fee, which is another reason we shouldn't rely on it too much, I think.
The flat fee.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yeah.
With all the building that's being discussed right now, you know, in the planning board and the plans that are in front of the town right now, a lot of them are units. Those multi-units don't use our trash fee, is that correct?
No, I believe they're all supposed to be using a private hauler.
Private
Like Sears uses their own
Right.
private service.
Okay.
The interesting thing here is that some of our condo developments utilize our recycling, or trash and recycling, right?
I think it's 4 units or less per
Okay.
building is allowed.
Okay, because
The
on
condos
any
are-
given day when you drive down
Get trash.
that area, you know, where the condos are off of, off of Cedar Street, you know when trash pickup is, because some of the cul-de-sacs are to the point where you can't get down them because there's so many trash bags, you know, so,
Yeah, I was gonna say, certainly the Algonquin area,
Yeah.
they are using our trash
Yeah,
services.
they all are.
But
Pretty
then
much
they're
all
then
are.
paying for our trash
Yeah,
services, right? They're paying the flat fee and they're buying the bags.
So my concern is, I mean, we have some newer developments in town that the single-family houses that have gone up. There aren't 100 of them, but they're within the 50 range over this past year or so. So where is the cost coming from?
So it's coming from the increase in labor costs, the
Okay.
increase in fuel costs, the
Okay.
increase in disposal costs.
Okay, and that's all part of the contract negotiated with respect to?
Correct.
Okay. All right, so it's not, I got it.
How is recycling looking in general is the trend's pretty bad? I mean, because, we're trying to recycle things and take them out of the waste stream, and is that kind of working? I mean, how is it looking, the trends?
So are you talking about the financial trends or
Yes.
how much is being
Yeah, like these guys that are recycling, is it gonna get more and more expensive? Is it inevitably?
Well, for a while there, like a few years ago, and Doug, chime in if you've got better information here, but for a while, like, you would get money back for recycling. And then we went to a case where everything needed to go over to China.
Right.
And, the cost, we would actually get paid for the recycling. And then the contamination kept on creeping into the waste stream, the recycling stream. And then China decided they weren't gonna take it, and so then costs went up again, and so we ended up having to pay more. It's actually kind of swung the other way. The pendulum swung a little bit the other way to where it doesn't cost us as much. But have you seen recent trends, Doug?
So far, in this fiscal year, it started off pretty good. It really looked good for
The
us.
recycling cost?
Yeah, it looked good. It was, let's say we started at 129 and they were able to get rid of it for more like $30, $40 a ton. But now the latest bill, it was more like $80, $90. It's not as much, so but we're still benefiting.
Yeah, so it's still worth it to give people that incentive.
Yeah.
So we have like a locked rate in our contract of what we'll pay, or how does that work? No? It does? Yes?
So-
And then if
Yeah, so
it comes in lower or higher, we have to,
Yeah, so the factors of the contract are like the base transportation costs, right, the hauling fee. And so that's a base amount. Then you have a fuel adjustment amount. If fuel is over a certain percentage over a certain dollar amount, you have that adjustment as well. You pay a flat rate for something, for your disposal costs, what's known as a tipping fee. So it's depending on how much tonnage, it's whatever tonnage it is multiplied by that tipping fee. So that's a variable number there as well. And it's a different number for recycling, but it's the same.
concept.
It's the same concept. I feel like there's one more.
The recycling will adjust every day.
Yes.
The trash won't.
Okay.
I think the trash were around $92 a ton.
I think it's 91.
91, yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is the recycling is 129. Sounds like a lot,
How does that
right?
work?
Well, that's the fee that it is to process it. But what you do is you have to subtract out of that what you get for the commodity value
Okay.
for each of
So it's
the recyclables that are in there. So I believe our current invoice, we were getting a benefit of $96 for the recycled material. So your fee is actually 129 minus 196, whatever that difference is.
In regards to recycling, do we see any benefit if our recycling is cleaner or dirtier, right? One of the things that they're talking about is you want your recycling to be clean, so no food in your containers, make sure you're only putting the right things in. If our materials that they're getting are in a better condition, do we see a benefit for that, or does it not matter?
You want to take it?
Interesting. It's just, we'll get penalized if it's contaminated. So we do benefit.
We do benefit, the cleaner we have.
So the cleaner you put your recycling in your bins and you're only putting in what's appropriate, the better it is for us as a community.
Correct. Yeah, the better.
So that we need to,
Yeah.
we need to emphasize that. We need to tell people that if you're gonna put it in recycling, make sure
it's
it's
right.
clean and appropriate.
Yeah, I'm not sure the company's communication on that has been all that effective the last few years. I keep having arguments about, like, is this plastic recyclable? Is this recyclable? And you go to the notice thing and it's like, oh, I don't know,
That's true.
so.
Different grades of plastic.
Yeah, there's all these issues. I have arguments all the time. What are you throwing that in there for? That's not recyclable. Yes, it is. I don't know. It's like,
Almost like you got cardboard, but, pizza boxes can't
Yeah.
go in there.
oh, I ignore that one.
We have that space all the time.
Rob is the single factor for the trash that's going out.
Just call Rob the
I
contaminator.
do clean them though.
Mr. Sustainability.
I'm the reason for the surcharge.
Yeah.
Right. We're gonna take all the senior element and put it on your.
Yeah, right, yes. Oh, boy.
Brittany, do you have other stuff that you wanted to go through, or is that? I just want to make sure you cover everything that you wanted
There's a
to
lot
cover.
in here.
Yeah, there is a lot in
information,
here.
A lot of informational data, just to.
And you
Just
need
so you
us to
have
make
it.
a decision tonight?
No, it's not on the schedule.
It's not on the schedule to
You
vote.
don't need to make a
Okay.
decision tonight.
When
It's
is-
to get it in front of you?
After the new year,
Christmas.
okay?
It's fine. Yes.
January, right?
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. As long as we can balance the budget before next town meeting, that'd be
Yeah.
Yeah,
So basically, like, this would go into effect FY '24.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the August.
the August.
big
Yeah.
billing
Okay.
year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so next, okay. Okay, so I
Well,
get a
it
little,
seems like a sound analysis to me. from
Yeah.
what
yeah, lots of
I
good
was-
information
What
here,
else?
thank you.
Yeah,
I was
there's-
going to ask if
there's-
there was
and
some
that's a
sort
good
of credit
question.
that
That's a
people
good
could get for
conversation to have
composting, and then I saw
about
the numbers
senior
and
rate.
said, well,
I'd be opposed to it, and I'd fight it tooth
you
and
know,
nail, but that's
it's not going to get us
neither
to a
here
better
nor there.
place
It's a
if
good
we,
conversation.
know.
But maybe it's a change in, in age, right? Instead of 65,
Yeah.
it's 67. or
I was
something.
thinking, though,
Could
if
be.
there was
Yeah,
a way
there could
to,
be
like,
some kind of
encourage people to
guide, right? Yeah.
compost less bags, less, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it would make financial sense for us to do that, then if we could get by with, less bags and less trash and still make our numbers and give people an incentive to compost, ideally, that would be like a huge win, but I know that we're trying to balance our budget, so.
Are you guys still seeing, maybe you don't know, are you seeing a lot of like compostable material in the waste stream? Is that,
I
do we have
don't
any
see
idea?
that aspect of it. But
I mean,
It's hard to know, I guess.
yeah, it's tough. I think, to summarize a lot of what we're talking about is, I think we really had a really good contract in 2015,
Right.
in 2017, and got a little complacent, I think, with the way everything was going in this kind of, I know we've talked about it and we've just kind of kicked it down the road, but I think we got to a point where we have to bite off a big chunk of the elephant to get, to use that term or use that analogy. And I think in the future, we're just going to have to, in some ways, bite the bullet, because some of the things that we're talking about, while important in terms of reducing costs, they're not going to be, surefire ways to drop the fee. It might be able to keep us from increasing it as much each year. But
Yeah.
I think we've got to get to a practice where we incrementally raise things each year as costs go up, as opposed to these big
So
jumps.
before they leave, I have a question actually for Doug and for Michael about, we talked somewhat about the service situation that we're experiencing here in town. I don't know if it's isolated to certain neighborhoods or certain days, or if it's kind of a random
It's
thing
townwide.
depending on the circumstances of that particular day. But, it's gonna happen again, clearly.
It's happening
based
tonight.
on, but I guess my question really has to do with communication, and how do we communicate when these things are occurring? And, I don't know how you would do that. You know, you can put it on Facebook, but big deal.
Right.
You know, I don't know what the most efficient way is to let people know that, you know, there's gonna be a delay in their pickup.
So I agree that communication needs to improve, and it is kind of the key, because I think people can be a little bit more accepting of the situation if they know what's going on. So what we're doing is we're putting in place a system where Waste Management reports to us at the end of each day if they've been able to complete the pickup, the route for the day or not, and if not, to the best of their ability, let us know the streets that haven't been picked up. We should in turn take that information and either communicate it out there via social media. I don't know if we want to go with a robocall.
I was just gonna say, I think a reverse 911, right? Because, and if you can target it to the areas that didn't get their trash picked up.
Can we do that?
It's
Yeah.
At least an explanation makes it a little.
You know, basically saying, Waste Management had some truck issues, your trash didn't get picked up today, we apologize, and it's gonna be picked up tomorrow, or, I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, it happened this weekend.
My biggest frustration is when they miss a pickup and they say, okay, we're going to be able to do it tomorrow. So you feel like that's taken care of. And then you get to the end of the day tomorrow.
And
And they're
then
like, oh, we weren't able to get it. That is the most disheartening, frustrating thing.
Could we put like a news flash on our website? And so like, you know, every day there's some, if there's,
Yep.
and so people know, okay, if my trash wasn't picked up, I'll check the website.
The website, that's a good idea too.
And, you know, we have, you know, news of the day. Today is the 30th. Trash was not picked up on XYZ streets, will be picked up tomorrow. At least people know that that's a.
The thing is, not everyone has a computer, and not everyone's comfortable doing that. Whereas, even if it's not to tell them when it's gonna happen, we can say, look, we are aware that your trash wasn't picked up today.
Yeah.
And it'll get picked up as soon as we can get Waste Management to do
How
it.
easy is it to use that reverse? You know, is it like, can you target it? Or-
You can, but that can be pretty difficult, like, or time consuming, I should
People have
say.
to be registered for it.
They have to be registered for it, for sure. What might be a better way of doing it is just doing a reverse 911 to everybody and just saying, please be aware, Waste Management's having service delivery
Right.
issues this week.
But you have to say
Your
what
trash
street.
your trash pickup may be impacted, and that way, to your point, everyone is aware of it.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell them what, like, should they leave it out, or should you might as well bring it in and wait till next week? You know, that kind of, they need some specific.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
does
I don't know
David
if we're
have,
gonna-
does he keep records of this?
Yeah, we keep records.
Yeah, because
of it.
I guess, I'm curious as to what, you know, what the actual data is. I will tell you that we have not had any issues on my street at all. And they come on Thursdays. The time of day may vary, but who cares? But we haven't, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I live on the street, certainly, but it's,
I can
Maybe it's
tell you.
because I'm on
Yeah,
the same
right.
street, or.
We're targeting Rob.
Doesn't work for me.
Oh,
Because he's contaminating his trash.
you're laughing, I know what you're laughing about.
Anybody with a
but-
purple house.
But it does, you know, again,
Purple House.
we just haven't seen any issues. Now, I hope I haven't opened up a can of worms here.
Yeah,
but,
really, Steve,
you
thanks.
know. But, you know, I guess, is it random? Is it?
What we're seeing, sorry, Michael,
No,
one
jump
second.
in.
It's just this year, especially when there's a holiday week or a day that, those are the weeks that we're getting killed. And last week, obviously, was Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
And they started the week off on Tuesday, and they didn't finish Tuesday. And it snowballed all the
Yep.
way
That's what happened,
to
yeah.
today.
They picked up on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we got.
No,
picked
they
up
didn't
on
pick up on Sunday. That was the
Saturday.
problem.
But that
Right.
was, I'm okay with that.
And
It's a
Monday's
holiday.
yard waste, and they were still picking up trash on Monday.
But you have to know it's happening, though.
They were picking
Like,
up
you gotta know the
compost, though.
schedule, 'cause you can't
Well,
just leave
that's
it
a
out
whole
for
different-
That's a whole different
Yeah.
company, right?
Well, you put it out on, I mean,
Yeah.
we
You
put it
don't-
out on Friday, because Thursday was the holiday.
Yeah.
Right.
But then it didn't get picked up, so you leave it out until the next day,
Yeah.
and you hope.
And that's what was happening.
One of the things that Doug has brought up and thought of, and I think it's something that needs to be explored, is the possibility, right now we have a Tuesday through Friday schedule. The potential of moving back are moving to a Monday through Thursday schedule. Now, that makes it a little bit more complicated with the Monday holidays. But what happens, though, is with the Tuesday through Friday schedule, if things get pushed out a couple of days, some people have to have their trash out all weekend until Monday. At least with the Monday through Thursday schedule, you have Friday and Saturday to catch up before you go into a weekend.
And of course, the vendor doesn't like that, but Michael and I kind of do.
So go back to Monday through Thursday.
Maybe.
And if there's a Monday holiday, everyone gets pushed out by a day.
We need to see them fix what the problems are
Right.
now.
'Cause, yeah,
I'm
just
really
change.
hopeful that they do. I'm really hopeful. I'm hoping that this labor issue is real. I'm hoping they have a new driver too. But a lot of it is Michael and I are dealing with their top people that we're really not happy with as far as the communication and all
Yeah.
that. But as far as getting the word out and all this stuff, I would. David does a pretty good job. He'll put the message on his voicemail, and he tries to put something on the DPW website. I think if we make it almost a daily thing until we get control of the situation,
Yeah.
we say by 8 o'clock every night, we'll have a posting on the DPW website of the status of the trash for the day. That's something that I think we can do.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to see if people could get used to that, going there instead of doing a robocall.
Can we put it, I would say, can it go on the main website? Like, when you
The
go to
news flash,
ashlandmass.com,
I could
on the
do that.
news flash
information.
there, it's
Yeah,
there.
newsflash.
I
Yeah.
could do that.
That,
if you
I
want.
think that
Right.
would be
I
helpful.
think
So-
people are more prone to doing that instead of looking for different.
It is kind of hard to get in.
Yeah, it is hard to
in
get
there.
in.
It's
I
still a little
agree,
bit tough
yeah.
to get into some
Yeah.
departments.
So do you feel like you guys have like a good system now in place for the hauler to communicate to you guys when there's an issue?
Every
they're-
day it's getting better and better
Okay.
and better. We have their full attention right now. And,
It's gonna
yeah,
be
we
Because
have
I think
full
one of the
attention.
issues is like, people don't have their trash picked up, they complain on social media, they don't, and if they don't reach out to you guys, or, then people,
us.
or us, but if they don't let, David know that there was a missed pickup, sometimes, you guys wouldn't even know,
Yeah.
right? And
Right.
so that's the
Right.
problem, is that
Right.
so I think, the process should be, at least, if people have their trash missed, then they should make sure they reach out to David, right? David Miller.
Correct.
How do they do it? Do they email?
Email is the
Email or
best.
call 'em.
I mean,
Either
he's
one.
been super responsive. Like,
Yeah.
I've sent him
He has
emails.
a
How
file
big is
with
our
an
email list of residents or households?
I don't know.
What was that?
I mean, my question was, how extensive is our email list of residents and/or households? Because I think the likelihood of getting somebody to see an email or a robocall is a lot higher than any of the other
I would agree with that.
situations that we're talking about. And, if we can utilize something like that, an e-blast that would go out, David could do an e-blast, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I think people are more likely to respond to, right now they're responding
text.
to, somebody that has a legitimate complaint, but posting it on Facebook. And then it gets flamed out of proportion. And, I think that we should try to manage that better. And, that might be a good option to look at.
We could do that. I mean, I will say that, the complaints, they don't just come in on Facebook. People will text me, call me. They don't care what time,
So,
what time it is.
so Michael, you have your town manager's email that you send out every week. Could it be that if you know that there's an issue, you could send out via that? I mean, you must have the list set up that you can.
We try, yes.
So,
So that list has about 4,500 email addresses
Okay,
associated with it.
Yeah, okay, so that's pretty extensive.
yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people are understanding. Most people are
Yes.
fine. And the next morning, they're fine waiting until 9, 10 in the morning. It's when it goes past that.
Yeah.
That's when people, it starts.
Well, the other thing, leaving it out overnight, then you got animals get into the trash
Yeah,
and
that's-
stuff, so that's
That's right.
otherwise,
Right, that can
It's
happen.
undesirable.
It can happen. It's,
I think it is worth posting on social media, though, like especially the Happy Board, like, if there's an issue, just at least use that to say, contact or tell people what to do.
But
if
we
they're
do.
having problems.
They
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, so
I think there was
I
something
think that's
today,
good, and
yeah.
we should use the happy
Yeah,
board, and
I
yeah,
think
I think
all
that's.
those are
yeah.
a tool, but
We
I
should
think it's
continue with
more
that.
effective to
Yeah.
maybe look at some options.
More direct.
Yeah.
Yeah, more direct up.
I just think it's important that the public realizes that we take this very seriously. This is a major struggle for us right
Yeah.
now, and it's all hands on deck with this. I might be laughing every now and all this stuff, but this is very, very serious to us down at the DPW and in Michael's office. And we're going right into snow and ice season.
Yeah.
So this is terrible right now. So we're doing everything we can to get this resolved. And I'm hoping we can get to the other side and everybody says down the road, good choice sticking with waste management. That's what I'm really hoping. But right now, when we did this contract over, they bought 3 brand new trucks. But right now, we're all faced with this labor issue and this equipment issue and all this. It takes almost 2 years to get a new vehicle, So that's what we're faced with. And so they're patching these trucks, trying to get everything to go. They have new drivers coming in, trying to get them trained. They're sending their guys, these new employees down to Florida to get them trained and hopefully when they get them trained, like at our DPW, they stay.
Yeah.
It's they're in the driver's seat.
It's really
The
frustrating.
drivers.
Yeah.
It's not like it was 10 years ago. So.
Well, nothing is though, right? I mean,
Nothing,
everyone's dealing with staffing shortages, supply chain issues, increase in costs. So
it's real.
I appreciate the work you guys are doing, trying to manage the cost for us, but also managing the whole waste thing. It's not an easy thing.
And Brittany put this together, the paper stuff. So I had
She's responsible. She's responsible
Sure,
for the numbers.
Maybe we should have
So-
Brittany drive one of the trucks. I know you can.
I bet you could.
So does anyone else have any
I'm good,
any
Madam Chair.
questions or comments?
No.
I just want to
Thank
I just
you.
want to let you guys out of here at a decent hour. Hopefully now it's not raining outside as much
That
as it
coming
was.
down.
That was going down pretty good.
So Michael, we will take this back up in January ish for
Take it over
a
to
final
senior center.
vote and a decision.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at some things again and see if there's some
See you, Britt.
Okay.
different
Happy
tweaks or
holidays.
anything we can
See you,
make.
Doug.
Thank you, Doug and Brittany. We
Hey, thank you
we
both.
appreciate all that you guys are doing. So, and we know where to find you guys. She says honestly.
Get the Purple House.
Okay. All right, that was a good discussion, and thank you, Michael. I know this is, this wasn't, it's tough to talk about, the financial end of trash when we've had just a rough go of
Yeah.
it, especially recently, so.
What's really tough is, a lot of people were like, well, just get rid of waste management. But I'm like, I don't know if there's anything better out there. And knowing that and trying to communicate that while knowing that doesn't make up for the fact that waste management's performance has been lacking.
And if that company is having those issues, and they're one of the top-notch waste companies in the area, and as a matter of fact, within the United States itself, what are the other companies going through?
All right. So.
Right.
I mean, we still having supply chain issues,
Oh, absolutely.
inflation, and
Absolutely, Rob.
yeah.
Hiring and getting, a complete staff, that's not an easy thing.
It's hard work. You watch those guys drive. One guy's driving the truck, right, and
Yeah, it's
throwing
crazy.
stuff in, and rain or shine.
Yep. All right, so we'll revisit that in a couple of months. So,
Good
okay.
times.
All right, thank you, guys. Moving on in our agenda, review and vote on the BAA grant awards. So I'll turn it over to
Quick
Steve and Rob.
Yeah, quick review.
Yeah.
So, we really approach this, the way we typically do we try to fully fund most of the items that come before us. We tend to not fully fund things that are kind of school-related, where they have other options for funding. As an example, the booster club at the high school, the boys hockey. So we tend to give them partial grant. One we missed this year, and that we need to include in here, I had been given information that the Ashland Day Committee application had already been funded, but that was incorrect, so we did not fund it or recommend it in this list, but I think we need to include that request in this,
950?
yes, in this recommendation.
Okay.
I do have to say, after, the Ashland Cub Scouts PAC put in a request for $1,200, and we funded it for $750, but after experiencing these Cub Scouts today, I think we should fully fund it. I thought they were awesome.
Well, except that that's only one Cub Scout group, right?
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
one
it's
pack.
one of those things where, once you start funding it, one pack, you might get.
That's all, just one pack? How many packs are there?
Well,
Ashland?
so that was a den.
That was a den.
Oh,
So-
okay, one den.
That's a big
This
den.
was for pack, the request was for the whole pack, which was pack 3001.
Are they
Is that a lot of-
part of the pack?
I believe they're part of the pack.
So
The
that
dens are
den,
part.
yeah, well,
But
they represented
Don't we have
the-
more than one pack
I don't know.
here in town?
I don't know you.
Because the,
The Boys, well, there used to be two, Joe, but they combined.
Right.
Together, which is
Yeah.
27-2.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
right, so these are Cub Scouts, so these are the younger kids.
Yes, kids
And then
that
we
were here.
have Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things that once they start, because we haven't seen a lot of grant requests
Yeah.
from the Scouts. We've seen it from Eagle Scouts who are doing projects that then benefit the community.
Right, right. Well, that's fine, we can leave it the same. I was impressed with the group. so,
Yeah, it was a
you know.
good
But
group.
that's kind of the rationale, Brandy, as to, how we've done this over, I don't know, how many years have you and I been doing this?
4? No. Has
Well, it
been
seems
long?
longer than
Oh,
that.
really?
Well,
Yeah.
pre-COVID, there was a
Yeah.
COVID
Yeah,
the
boy, a long
hiatus.
time. So, that's our recommendation, and with to include the $950 for the Ashland Day Committee. So that would be an additional, under the runner's account.
So I had a question for you guys. What is the policy regarding requests that come in that, like, if someone has made a request in the spring cycle and are making a request for the fall cycle, what's the policy?
Well, typically, we only fund someone once in a year.
Okay. Because I noticed, there were a couple things I noticed. So one thing was the Ashland Fire Department, that the recommendation was to give $2,500
Yeah.
for promotional educational items. There was also, we had funded them for $2,000 in the spring cycle to basically do the same thing. It was supposed to be for the public safety building, but it was promotional and educational
Right, yep.
materials. So I'm like, that kind of caught my eye. And then
Yep.
the other thing that caught my eye was the library. So on the second page, we have the request for the Children's Book Festival, which I think is great,
Yeah,
for $2,400. And then also the Friends of the Public Library
yeah,
for $2,500 for diversity and foreign language ELL collections.
yep.
So I was just looking at what we had done for them in the spring, and we had given the public library $2,033 in the spring, and we gave the Friends $1,000 in the spring. So the total amount going to the library is almost $8,000. So, like, I'm thinking about, like, things like, increasing diversity in foreign language ELL collections. Like, I'm almost thinking that's like a budget thing. Like, that's more that the library should be planning for, like, their budget. Yeah. And so it kind of just struck me. It was, I love the library. I think that our programs are great to be able to, I think like something like the book festival is like perfect for our BAA grant program. I just, $8,000 in like one calendar year is kind of, it doesn't strike me as completely equitable, but like, so I just wanted to bring that up to the
Yeah,
group.
no, that's a good point. I have to say, I'm probably inclined to fund library things pretty, I guess, I'm not sure what the right word is. I mean,
You're agreeable to that based on your,
well, what I know about the library, the work that they do, the effort that the Friends put in to support many different programs over the course of the year. So I'm inclined to support, and I don't know what their annual budget is, Michael. I don't know if it's, I'm sure it's predominantly takes care of salaries at the library, plus the Minuteman expenses and so on.
Are you talking about the budget?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's money in there for programming, Minuteman, materials,
Yeah.
and
But- Yep.
staffing.
That's interesting. Well, I think we're kind of used to thinking of people do it annually, so I didn't look back and see, as you did, if there were similar projects from the last grant round. So maybe we'll be a little bit more aware of that. But I think we tend to look at these as separate projects and have not gone back too much in history.
No,
and
I
say,
honestly
you-
did not go back and do a comparison.
Except that we have said that if people have applied one
Right.
in years past,
No,
we've,
that's a point, yeah.
to Brandy's point, we have said, if they've applied 1 year, and, the other process, part of it is, if they've gotten a grant from us and we're giving them more money, have we gotten a report on how they used the previous funding?
Right.
Which is another thing we've talked about, right?
Yeah, so I guess one of the things we should be aware of, is this very similar to what they just did, to your point, and how does that play into an additional
Yeah.
award?
If I remember correctly, the application this year that Sue presented actually requested that information as to, fundings
so
that you may have
you'd have to
received,
see that in the
at,
application.
during this year. Where did the monies go? How much,
Yeah.
how much has been utilized, and, do you expect to, continue using it, before these funds come? And give receipts or whatever to show that the money has been
Yeah,
used.
but,
And
it sounds like we probably should do a more formal, very much like the Cultural Council does. When you get a Cultural Council grant, you have to provide a report back. It's always a reimbursement with the Cultural Council, so you have to provide documentation, and then you receive a payment, so.
And I think they have to use it within 12 months, right? Like
Right, within the
that's what
calendar
this
year.
is, right?
Correct.
Within, yeah.
So,
Most of these are annual, right? I mean,
I think most of them are, but, if you want, we can go back and review it, and then come back in either the next meeting, or we can just accept this the way it is. It's, but sounds like we should tighten it up a bit.
I personally, like, when I saw the fire department, and I definitely, support the work that they're doing, but it basically was the exact same request for $2,000 the last go-around, and,
I think the last one was for they have an event in the spring.
it was
where
supposed to be for the
they do an
public
open
safety
house.
building.
Yeah, don't they?
But-
They
We
do an
also
open house in the
fund the
spring.
camp, too. There's a fire camp that we.
Can't
Yeah,
bail
for-
out. I
for,
don't know.
You haven't done
They
bailout
haven't
in a
done
while.
bailout for a while, because they
Okay.
didn't,
Yeah, bail
with
out,
COVID,
right.
they haven't done it.
No.
So, I mean, I, you guys do great work to get all this organized, and Susan, I know, gets all the information from everyone too. So it's a humongous process, so it's great that you guys are, doing this for as many years
I
as
would-
you have.
We only had 18 applications this time, so surprising that, normally we've got quite a few more.
Yeah, it was
And,
small.
So this one was,
So I would like to say, if they've, Steve and Rob went through the process, that I would say for this round, I would be comfortable approving what they've recommended, plus the $950 for Ashland Day, but moving forward, I think we need to look at our process and make sure that people are using it and they're reporting on how they're using it, because, people spend time to train and run to help us raise funds, and we need to be good stewards of those funds.
Well, and to Steve's point, like, we're used to having a lot more people apply for these
Right.
grants,
Yeah.
and we try to spread it around as much as we can,
right.
so, okay, I'm good with that.
okay.
Okay, I move that we approve the recommendations from the subcommittee on funding from the BAA grant, and it includes the $950 for Ashland Day.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Good.
great, that passes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
guys for
Thank
the
you,
work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for,
And we still, just
Putting
to,
time
just
and
to make
effort into
note,
it.
we still have, a fair amount of money in
In
our accounts.
yeah.
And, we already have, Susan has put out information about the runners for next
Yes,
year
they've got
already.
runners,
So,
Yeah.
we do have a healthy bank account in 2 locations and,
Yeah. And so just so folks kind of are aware of the way that these come out of the different accounts, so if it's an official 501c3, then it comes out of the runner's account. And if it's a group that doesn't have an official nonprofit status, it comes out of the select board's gift account.
Yep.
So that's how we allocate the funding. So, great. And thank you, Susan.
Yes, thank you,
Thanks,
Susan.
Susan.
Thank you for all your work
organizing.
on this. It looks great. Thank you. So let's next time around, we'll see if we can get
Tighten
some.
it up,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Some
get some
people did have
reporting.
some people did report on their, in their applications, so that was good.
Yeah.
We got some
Okay.
kudos.
Great. Okay, moving on in our agenda. Discuss membership and appointments of 2 members to the Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee. So, leading up to town meeting, we worked with the planning board on an overall plan for the comprehensive plan. And this is going to be a joint project with the planning board. And what we had agreed on was 2 members of the select board, 2 members of the planning board are going to work with Michael and Peter Matchek, our town planner, and that will become the project management team. And that team will work on onboarding, getting the RFP process started for a consultant, and then it's planned that those folks will then become part of the larger steering committee, which will be then made up with a larger group of folks from the community and different committees and boards within town. And so then we had town meeting where we voted to approve the $250,000 for a consultant. So I think the next step is really kind of getting this started so we can start the process for the RFP. I'll open it up for folks if they're interested in becoming a member of this project management team. Go ahead, Yolanda.
I've been very vocal since we started this, that I'd really like to represent the select board. It was a big project when I was involved the last time around, and some of the stuff was frustrating. We got some very good stuff done, and then we just couldn't take it to the end point. And I 2 things. One, I'd like to get it to the end point this time, and I would hope that my experience as part of that and some of the outreach and just reaching out to the community would help me as a member. So I would hope you guys would consider. And as I said, we've needed a comprehensive plan. I think the first time I ran, the second time I ran, maybe even the third time I ran, it was always one of those things where we needed this, and we did we tried the comprehensive plan, and that fell apart, and then we did this work. We gave Michael the directive for the strategic plan. So I'd like to represent the select board. I feel I can work well with. We don't know yet who the 2 planning board representatives are going to be. We think it's going to be Kate and Anna, but they're not sure yet. They still have to vote that. But I would like to represent the select board.
Okay.
Thank you, Yolanda. I think that the experience that you have would be great. I think being a part of the comprehensive plan process the last time around, I think would be, you would help us avoid some of the pitfalls that could potentially come up. And I think you would be a tremendous asset. Yeah.
That's the other thing, is I want to make sure this continues to move forward.
Yeah. I was going to say put your foot down, but put your boot down.
Put my boot down.
And I would also like to just put my name out there for representation of the select board on the comprehensive plan group. I've worked on the housing production plan. I was part of Michael's strategic plan advisory group way back when. We were working on inclusionary zoning, which I think will be a part of this too.
Definitely.
So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great project. I think it will be a good thing for our community, and I would love the support and to represent the board.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions?
Well, I'm just happy you 2 were putting your names forward, and presuming, you know, I think it is an important process, and I wouldn't mind being involved, but I think that you guys have the kind of initiative and energy to put into it that I think, you know, should be a good process. I think you're very, you know, very involved in the process, and it's going to be, I think it's going to take a fair amount of time and effort as we go on. So I'm glad you're, you know, willing to commit to that. So that's good.
That's good.
So,
And I agree with Rob's comments as well. I'm, you know, pleased that both of you are willing to take this on. And, you know, I get the sense from you, Yolanda, that, you know, you really, you know, bothers you that last comprehensive plan attempt was
it was so
frustrating.
And the fact that we could see the goalpost, like we could see it,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, again.
Miss it completely.
Well, and what was interesting is I'm still hearing different things from different people as to why they think it fell apart. And I go, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to have an opportunity, I think, to bring it home, as they say,
my
this
goal.
time. And I think whoever represents the planning board, I think they're going to be equally as motivated
Yeah.
and
I would hope.
enthusiastic about
think
this.
so.
So I would make a motion that the select board appoint Yolanda and Brandy as our representatives on the comprehensive plan steering committee.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great, congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations and good luck.
Condolences.
Godspeed, right?
Just do me one big favor. That inclusionary zoning, you gotta get that passed.
We will.
You gotta get that passed, man.
Let's have that discussion.
Yeah, that's.
With a 2-5.
Yeah. Well,
With
Well,
a 2-5.
That's not part of the comprehensive plan process has to work its way out.
we will
So,
get there with the inclusionary zoning.
Yeah.
That's another
And if
one
they
where
don't-
you can
if
see
they
the
don't agree
goalpost.
to it,
Yeah.
find another town to build. Find another town to go.
But thank you guys for your
Yes,
support.
thank you for that.
Go for it,
And
kids.
we look forward. So I think the next step will be, I think the planning board is meeting tomorrow night.
I think this is on
I
their
think it's on
agenda.
their agenda, yeah. So I think
So once
we'll
we
have-
know who that is, we'll get a meeting going.
Yeah, so maybe if we can get, I know we're probably planning to start the RFP process in the new year, but if maybe we can get like an initial just meeting.
Yeah, in December.
Yeah. That would be great. Okay.
I can let you know it can't be, if it's gonna be in the evening, it can't be the week of December 12th to the 17th.
Okay.
I'm in Tech Week. One of my other jobs.
All right. All right, move on to our consent agenda.
Nope, discuss and vote funding for the employee recognition event.
Thank you,
You're
thank you.
You're just making sure people were paying attention.
Apparently
Very
I need help.
Consent agenda's
It's not
great.
even late. It's not even 9 o'clock.
Okay.
It is kind of
So,
late.
discuss and vote on funding for the employee recognition event. Susan, I know you had, do you have information that you wanted to share for us on this?
Michael does.
Michael does. So Michael, you have some information to share with us on this.
So this, I know. So this is for our annual employee appreciation event where we give out years of service awards and also just acknowledge the staff for everything that they do throughout the year. We have food, again, we have length of service awards as well. So we're requesting $3,500 for this event, which has been pretty much in line with the previous events, right, Susan? So.
Okay, and that's on December 9th, the Friday?
9th, yes.
Okay. I move that we approve not to exceed $3,500 for the employee recognition event coming out of the select board gift account.
Okay. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. All right.
Quite a few awards this year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some
good. Longevity?
Some longevity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome.
For sure.
Can I just bring up something?
Yeah.
And Sue and I have had this discussion, and I didn't realize this, but this is for full-time employees and not part-time employees. And I was just kind of awed by the fact that you have folks that work part-time, that work 5 days a week, you know, for the town. They may not be putting 40 hours in, they may be putting, you know, 20 hours a week. But they don't get any recognition. And I'm kind of surprised that we don't do that. Maybe it's something we should look into about changing that. You know,
Yeah.
when you say employee recognition, it didn't say full-time employee recognition, it says employee recognition. You know, and we didn't, you know, and Sue was kind enough to explain that to me. So I'd just like to open that up. And, you know, there were some people that had quite a number of years of service, but the individual departments that they work for recognized them
Right.
as a result of that.
Excuse
me. Right.
But being a town employee, I don't see why we distinguish the two. I think if they're considered employees, they're getting paid by the town, then that's something, you know, to look at, so.
That's a good point, Joe.
Just,
agree.
you know, just to bring it up, that's all.
20 years
Yeah.
is full-time or 20 years is part-time, it's still 20 years.
20 years.
That's longevity,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's longevity,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's-
something to
that's my-
consider.
That's my point,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
I didn't realize
yeah,
Glad you
good
brought that
point.
up.
Good.
Maybe that's something for.
Yeah, it's something, we've fought and struggled with this for a while, and just, you know, there's some different complicating factors with it, but it is, you know, I think about Donna specifically and
I didn't bring it
Barbara.
up.
No, but I am,
didn't-
I
didn't
can.
bring it up.
I can though. So, and, you know, Barbara and, you know, Jack Walsh, not to
Yep.
call these people out in a negative way, they just have provided years of service for the town, and they should be acknowledged in some way.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
They only work part-time.
Does anyone else have any comments, questions on that?
Just a motion to approve the consent agenda
That's an
as
awesome motion.
presented.
Second.
And all those that are in favor?
Aye.
That
With
passes.
gratitude, thanks to Mike and Margaret for
Maggie,
their
yeah.
dedicated work on the Town Forest Committee and the Sustainability Committee.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. Michael and his family are, I think I saw they were moving out of
Yeah,
town, so we wish them well.
Oh, that's too
Yeah.
bad.
And
It happens.
thank you all for your service. Moving on to priority project update. Michael, do you want to
Sure.
start with downtown?
Yes, so since our last meeting, downtown has been paved. So I think everybody's enjoying the smooth surface. It's nice to see. They're currently also working to try to finish up a lot of the brickwork, the brick banding work, tightening up some of the vegetation and the trees that they have in there. What they're really currently working on right now is jacking underneath the tracks and doing the pits for that.
What's the time frame on that process?
It's probably going to be a few more weeks.
Okay.
So at that point, they're going to be wrapping things up for the winter, and then we will open back up in the spring and start finishing up that intersection with Main in front, and then also to Homer in front in summer.
Summer.
Yeah.
And
Yep, good.
finish that. So
Will they be lining?
they're supposed to be, but I haven't got confirmation since last week.
Okay.
And that's weather permitting too.
Right.
They have to have a dry surface to be able to.
Can I
Yeah.
question/last comment just on some other paving? Better to do it now or at the end of this?
Let's do it at the end.
Okay.
maybe.
Okay.
I should have added that on town manager reports. But, so that's downtown. Jen, do you want to talk about the public safety building at all?
Sure. So public safety, not too much in terms of where we are with the apparatus bay doors. We're continuing to sort of struggle with that delivery. We don't have a great timeline. So what we've decided to do is we're looking at getting a partial substantial completion. So on part of the building, meaning the police side. So there's not really, we could look to operate our police department out of there. The bay doors are secure. They just, obviously we can't operate a fire department without having functional bay doors.
Yeah.
And so we're working with our team to sort of navigate that process, and then hopefully we'll be able to, in the next several weeks, get through that process and then start to have police actually operated on the building, and then we'll continue to work with our contractor to try to get the doors they're looking at multiple ways to get, right now we're waiting for the trolleys and tracks. And so we've been giving they're looking at our current manufacturer and then also a second manufacturer, and that second manufacturer gave us initially a 4 to 6 week lead time, and that has now doubled. And so, we're still continuing to, as many avenues as we possibly can, and then we still have to address the fact that they are the incorrect doors. They're not to design, so we're working through that. And that will be ongoing for the foreseeable future.
And just to let other people know too, I mean, it's not like, it's the, Jen and the committee has been, we've been on, CTA, quite extensively, to the point now where we're penalizing them, per day because of the work that wasn't done, in a timely fashion and the date that was provided for us. So it's not, it's not something that we take too kindly. I mean, we would have loved to have been in that building, completed, and have both fire and police working out of there before the middle of December, but we see that's not going to happen, but that's out of our hands, unfortunately. So the powers to be have already taken steps and measures to, penalize those who are responsible, and we'll see how that works. So.
Quick question before we move on, just kind of related to both downtown and public safety. The RFI for the downtown buildings, has that closed? Are we still collecting?
So those are due on December 6th.
Okay.
We've done several walkthroughs, and so we've had restaurant owners look, we've had retail, and so I'm hoping that we get a couple of responses. So due on the 6th, and then we can open them and see, what those questions on the RFI sort of ask, what are your ideas, pretty high level, what are some of your concerns, maybe, just so we can think about that when we draft the RFP, and, what would you possibly think the renovation's going to cost, and what possibly would you need from the town in terms of sort of like, is there any relief that people would initially need?
Okay.
And so we took them through both buildings, both police and fire. We left it very open, besides no housing.
And hopefully, even if people decide not to put something in, they will take the time to at least provide us why they didn't feel
Yes.
like that was compelling enough.
Yeah.
And that helps us in the
Yeah.
long run as well.
So we
Absolutely.
probably won't have a lot of information for our next, because our meeting is like on the 7th, so it would just be closed. We probably won't have.
Yeah, probably just high level. I would
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Like, this is how many we got.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to deviate.
Let's see, Mendez, I know Paul is actually going to be reaching out to us shortly.
I think he emailed us a
Okay.
walk Saturday morning at 9, if people want to take a walk through the building if they haven't already. I know he did one with you on Friday of Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, so I would totally recommend anybody to go and do it. It's, Friday was a good day because it was a work site day, but it was not they were on a skeleton crew, and so there wasn't a ton of work going on there, which was great. You can really see where they're at this point now where they're putting, you can see where the gym is gonna be in the cafeteria, and they're framing out the classrooms, which is really pretty cool. The outdoor space is really, the kids are gonna have like a great, gorgeous school. It's
gonna be
pretty
awesome.
cool. So I'd recommend anybody, yeah. If you haven't gone through it, definitely.
Did you say you sent that email already?
It's gonna be Saturday.
As we were sitting here.
Okay.
Okay. And Yolanda, I don't really have anything else. Did you have anything? that you
I
wanna
know
talk about,
things are
Mendez?
moving forward. We have
Yeah.
a meeting on the 12th, I think.
I believe so.
Tuesday, the 12th, so,
Yes, that's right.
yeah.
So that's it on that one. So Valentine Project, anybody who's gone by has seen they've made a lot of progress. So they've stripped the roof of all the shingles and the sheathing and exposed in its truest form what the barn and the kind of shape that it's in.
Have you gotten any feedback from the construction company as to what they're finding?
Yeah, it's a little worse than what it anticipated. Nothing that we can quantify and really kind of nail down yet, but
Yeah.
there's certainly some rot and everything where we thought maybe there could be, but just didn't know for sure.
Right.
But some of the, definitely some of the rafters, we'd anticipated the rafters, but
Right.
some of the some of the more structural,
Yeah.
structural type of stuff.
as we thought.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that actually, that whole left rear corner is just basically gone. I don't know what's
Wow.
keeping it up right now, quite frankly.
That's amazing. Any thoughts on the letter we received from Mr. Kane about the exterior finish?
Yeah, just for people who were not privy to the email, we had Mike Kane, who is a very well-respected builder in the Metro West region, had suggested the possibility of using fiber cement board for siding and composite for some of the windows and the trim material. And they certainly last longer. I think that's undisputed. Thing is we're still looking for a historic aesthetic to this barn, and you know, wood and pine. Yes, it will require a little bit more maintenance, but it's certainly more in line with the historic nature of the building.
Though, don't they make, I mean, my understanding is some of the composite now for the siding anyway, looks like wood siding, some of it.
Yeah, they've done a really good job, I think, over the years with the materials to,
So
get it
should
a
we,
little bit.
I mean, I would like us to at least take a look at it and consider, you
Okay,
know.
it will cost more.
So it costs more initially, but the maintenance is where it balances out. My question is, you know, we're replacing something that clearly was not original, that clearly was just kind of, you know, slapped up there. So, you know, in terms of, to me, the historical integrity was always the internal structure.
Right.
Not the siding. And so, I think that would be the key, for me, the key attribute. But, you know, I think it's something to explore. You know, I think I mentioned, you know, I had a discussion with another construction person that verified that what was in that letter as far as, you know, the kind of the best route, long-term route for the siding and the window trims and so on.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's undisputed that it certainly lasts longer and is less maintenance. I think you just have to make a determination from a historical perspective.
Yep.
Is it something that you want to do? And also from a cost perspective. So what I can do is I can, you know, between meetings, I can go back and see if Mill City could give us a price on what that
Yeah, I
would
think
be.
it's worth just, you know,
And-
asking.
And I would say to follow up with that, not only the cost initially, but long-term, right? If you, there's historic and there's knowledge, right? If you're putting up wood siding, you have to paint it every so often, and what could that cost versus this other siding and maintaining that? Because with a project like this, it's not just what we're doing now, but it's also the long-term maintenance, because if we're gonna put the money into it, we wanna keep it for a long time as best as possible.
And maybe even get some samples, like if we were to look, you know, to see what the wood siding
Or
would look like
pictures of
before.
stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Like
I'm
I-
sure I can
you
get
know,
something.
just because I think like seeing it
Yeah.
would, I'm a visual person,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
pictures to me are kind of like, well, it all kind of, in a picture, it kind of all looks the same to me.
Yeah. Historically, the town
But if you
itself
see it,
has a low-grade maintenance, you know, program. Not knocking any of the folks that work, you know, in that department, but they're shorthanded as it is. And to add another, you know, large building to maintain it, if this is gonna keep things a little bit easier, and if the historical aspect of it is the interior, then you want the exterior to be strong enough to protect the interior historical aspect of it. So those are things that be considered, and for me anyway, I would.
yeah, I think we should look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
wouldn't-
I mean, I'll definitely get that information.
Thank you, Mike.
If I had a vote, it'd be for the pine, but I don't, so. But I'll get this
Well, I
info.
mean, we need to have all the information, that's
Yeah.
all.
Well, we can get one to look like pine.
Or cedar clapboard, I should say.
Right.
You can have a vote on the paint color.
Thanks, Steve.
No, we can't.
Appreciate that.
Well, it's gonna be white,
It's
isn't it?
gonna be white.
It's gonna be white.
Which white, maybe?
Don't give me the opportunity, I'll paint it purple.
But anyway, it's great to see a lot of progress going on there.
Yeah.
and,
Very nice, looking
Nice
good.
to see it happening. Warren Barn, just want to give you an update. So we did receive half of the ARPA the state ARPA money for that project.
Oh, good.
And once things calm down with the number of other projects that are going on, Jen's got a couple of other RFPs that, you know, we're talking about, like comprehensive plan and the DEI task force work. We could kind of put that back in our sights again, but we do have half the money so far.
Is that something we may be looking at probably in the spring of next year? Not something now, but maybe late May?
2024?
I don't know.
Okay.
So we have to just make sure we're on. We just need to make sure we're on a good cycle also. So when you bid construction matters, and so we may actually miss this kind of window right here. So
Okay.
that right now, they're going to be lining up their work for the spring.
Yep.
And so we may want to get there, and, you know, we may want to sort of see if it's the end of summer. So I would talk to our architect that did the work initially, just to sort of see what are they seeing in the procurement field, and like when's the right time to put it out. Because we were pretty surprised, you know, when we initially put that out, and like that was pretty shocking. when we
Yeah.
got that.
Thanks, Jim.
Mhm.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's it for priority project.
Hall House, any
Hall House.
update?
No, I don't have any update, except it's still kind of moving along.
Yeah, it
and-
looks
and
like
they're
it's
using
moving
wood-
along, yeah.
wood
Looks
slab
good,
wood.
actually.
So,
Go
I
back
was-
the other day. It's
I was
looking
saying to
good.
Michael, I think we should have Paul Gustafson in at some point in January, maybe, just to kind of tie up some of the loose ends.
Yep.
Just,
Sure.
you know, we kind of tabled a lot of stuff until we were sure that,
He could go forward?
yep, so, yeah.
Yeah,
So we'll-
that's good.
We'll wait till the new
Lots
year.
of pictures.
Mhm.
well, that's a big, yeah. Okay.
Town
So
manager
that's it.
updates. Town manager reports.
Yeah, so I'll just start with holiday programs. Of course, we talked briefly a little bit, or it was mentioned, the holiday stroll, which is going to happen this Saturday from 11 to 3 o'clock. Beth has done just an incredible job of getting a number of vendors. I think it's 30 vendors.
I think it's 30.
You know, through downtown, through the shops, and then they're also set up at the Bagel Table, 21 Main Street.
Here at Town Hall.
Corner Spot, Crossroads PT, over at 128 Main, and yes, Town Hall, all throughout Town Hall. So excited for that. And then after the stroll, we'll be gathering at the tree in downtown that was graciously donated by Murphy's, I should point out. And we will do the tree lighting. And I think we'll have a special visit from somebody in red, dressed in red, and with a white beard, and I think he will be. He's allergic to water.
Santa's gonna be in the shed, though, from, I think it's what, 1:30 to 3?
1:30 to
At the
yes,
corner
3:30,
spot.
Yeah.
So, before he goes down to do the tree lighting and on his merry
Yeah.
adventures through Ashland.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yep. So,
Mm.
so I hope everybody has a chance to come down and participate.
Definitely,
as
yeah.
part of that.
And even though it's going to be raining, all the indoor activities will be going on. So all the vendors will be at the locations inside. So wear your raincoats, bring your umbrellas, and come shop.
Maybe it'll get cold and it'll snow.
Bring your money.
Maybe it'll get cold and snow. I think they're predicting, what, 60
50.
degrees for?
Yeah, almost 60
Hopefully-
on,
Hopefully, the rain, like, keeps moving
Yeah.
up a little bit,
Let's
because
hope.
it's changed
It
a
is
bit.
New
Yeah, it's
so-
been changing through the week, so.
Hopefully,
The
fingers
library's having
crossed.
the book sale as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
busy day,
Yeah.
yeah.
Today.
And the U.S. the men's soccer team is
Well, they're playing.
10 a.m.
Yeah, who are they
Saturday.
playing, England on?
Netherlands.
Netherlands, that's
Ooh.
right.
One and
yeah.
done. So
Yep. This is a
Bad-
knockout round.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully.
That's gonna be a
the-
tough
the-
game.
Yeah, it will be.
That's going to be a tough game.
How did Belgium do?
I don't know, I haven't followed it.
Bounced.
Have they bounced?
So,
a lot going on.
so yeah,
I
in
think-
addition
I think
to
they
the
did.
stroll on Saturday, we'll be having, Temple of Shorei Shalom will be having the Hanukkah party on the 20th at 10 a.m. at Ashland Middle School, and they will also be having the menorah lighting on the 18th at 6:15.
Oh, it's on a Sunday?
Oh, no, did I split
20th.
those up?
The
I
twen-
split those up, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
or switched those around.
I think the menorah might be the 20th.
Think
It
I
is the
saw-
20th
yeah.
and
Yeah.
And you said 6:15, right?
6:15.
On the 20th. Yep.
Correct. And then we got to participate with our community center and human services staff with handing out turkey dinners for people as part of Thanksgiving. How many? It was over 90? Yeah, over 90.
it was busy.
dinners. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's always a
nice.
great,
Yeah.
great thing to participate in. So that's our holiday programs. Just briefly, wrapping up town meeting, I think it was pretty successful. All warrant articles passed. There was some good discussion about a couple of them, and I thought, one of the things that I was really impressed with is the demo delay bylaw, because I think that's how things should work. That was brought before town meeting before in the spring, and there was some feedback given at town meeting, and Helen and the Historical Commission took that information, kind of reworked that, and it was brought back to town meeting and passed pretty overwhelmingly, so.
I guess, bringing up town meeting, my only thing is it was disappointing the number of people. And I know it's tough, it's a weeknight, but there's never a good night to do it. And it was just unfortunate. I wish more people would have showed up. I think the people that were there really participated, and there was some good discussion. It would have just been nice to have a few more registered voters participate.
Yeah, I think we had 76 or 79.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
But subtract the people at the front
Yeah.
that are there ready, and, it was
Yeah.
but
But thank you to those who did show up. That was important.
And it was a good discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who put it all together.
Yep.
Obviously the moderator, Adam Schuster, he's an integral part of that. Jen works on that, but also our town clerk staff, Cindy and Christopher, they do a great job.
Yeah.
Paul Carpenter does all the IT work,
Yep.
just does an amazing job with all of that. And
Yep.
and
Yeah.
WACA as well. So that's town meeting. Paving, Yolanda, you'd brought that up earlier, and I said we'll save it for now.
Yep.
We were, thanks to Doug and his efforts, we were able to pave a number of roads before the season closed. Some of our worst ones, Winter Street, Main Street Hill, Oak Street, Olive Street, and Fountain, and I believe he was able to get some of Spring, a little bit of Spring. But, so we got all the seasons covered, I guess, pretty much. But anyway, it was great to get that done and squeezed in, and I know people have been complaining about the roads for a while, and rightfully so. But
there's, is it done for the season, the road paving?
for the season, yes.
Yes, so there's the big machine that applies the asphalt, is sitting over on
On
Gray
Gray Birch.
Birch Road. It's been there for a week or so, and some of the neighbors were commenting that they received a ticket for being overnight parking their vehicle, yet this piece of equipment has been there for a week sitting on the side of the road. So,
Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
yeah, I think they'd appreciate if they're done, they should remove it.
Yeah, okay. And where,
Gray
Gray
Birch.
Birch.
Okay.
Right by the Main Street Hill. So the other thing is, I saw the striping on the Main Street Hill, and then I came via Chestnut Street today, and there's some new lane striping and configurations on Chestnut Street, where there's now a left turn into one of the, I don't know if it's both streets. So just for people to be aware, there's now, you don't have quite as wide of a road on Chestnut Street.
Actually, it's interesting.
mean, it's good, but-
Because they've kind of X'd out a big section in the center in order to make these defined
Turning
lanes.
lanes, yeah.
And I'm assuming that they're prepping for the construction, for the project that's ultimately gonna be there.
And it's turning lanes too.
It's turning
There's
lanes,
turning
yeah.
lanes to go into the Avenue of the Americas and that whole area, so,
Yeah.
I mean, it was good to see it, and I think it'll make it easier for people who are going up and down the hill, but I was surprised when I drove by, and I'm like, ooh, I'm in the middle of the road, and I'm not supposed to be.
That's right.
Michael, is this part of the Chapter 90 stuff, or is this just a kind of stuff we do?
So we were using some Chapter 90 funds, but then we also allocate some paving funds in the budget, and it was used a little bit of that too.
You know, because I go back to complete streets, and this stuff, I think this was just repair, but,
Yeah.
you know, when you look at redoing a street, like, I know it's like Main Street going up to the intersection with Chestnut is really a very narrow lane there on the right for bicyclists, and there's still, so it still is dangerous as inadequate as ever was, you know. So I think one thing about complete streets, when we look at redoing these streets, is the time to maybe look at widening and doing things like, and adding shoulders or striping to increase safety, you know. So, you know, there's a balance between, yeah, we had to get it done before winter and there's big cracks in the road and it's in bad shape, but we also kind of want to look at the future and try to improve some of these issues if we can, especially using the kind of funds that are available to, you know, to make things more, you know, safe and safer for pedestrians and bicyclists and things like that. So
Yeah, I
Well,
think.
on the Main Street Hill anyway, they did repaint the crosswalk, so when you lose the sidewalk
yeah,
at like the middle of the hill, the stripe to cross to the sidewalk is painted again, so that's good.
that's good. Yeah.
You know, to your point, Rob, with complete streets, sometimes you have to actually then do the planning and the engineering and the potential land taking
Right.
to do some of that.
It's
And
much more complicated.
Right, it's
yeah,
not just, you know, and these were obviously just paving projects
that we're trying to get through.
that we're, you know, trying to do to make the streets a little smoother to ride on.
So, and just thank you to Doug Small. Like, we had an email that came in from a resident specifically about the Main Street Hill.
Yep.
And Doug had put together this great email to her, including like what the plan was for all these streets. And I think, you know, it kind of goes to like how complicated it is to secure the funding and to secure, because like I think he was explaining it, there's like a regional component as well.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's not just, you know, us trying to do a few projects here and there. And I think you had mentioned that it was something that we weren't even sure was going to happen before winter, because it kind of came up because they were able to fit us in.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to have a little more time to just notify everybody, including the board and the public, but the window,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, the Lynch was the contractor, they were like, we can do this, so it's like, okay.
Well, and then it was, I think a lot of people were like, well, it's all dug up, when is it gonna get paved? And it's like, okay, well, if you do all the digging up first, it's a lot less expensive and easier to then go ahead and do all the paving, because they're not then coming in to do a small section every day. They came in and did almost all the paving, except for that little section, and then they got it on Main Street.
Right. So that's paving. Just in terms of road work, just a little brief update on 126. They're gonna try to wrap things up for winter too, so they're gonna finish up the drainage work near Market Basket. They're gonna be paving a couple spots too here in the near future. Hoping to stripe by the end of the year. One of the big things that we'll be waiting on is Eversource in the utilities to move their wires over to the new poles so they can take out the old poles and fill things up.
There's two sections that I had a question on. Are they gonna finish the moving of the intersection with Algonquin and Dunkin' Donuts? Are they gonna finish that before the end of the season? And they're working on the sidewalks and the connection to the trail as well. Is that gonna get finished before they're done for the season? Because the section in the wetland area where they're working on the connection to the trail bumps the traffic out into the middle lane.
Yeah, I don't know the answer right now, Yolanda,
Okay,
but
if you
I'll
could
check.
follow up, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, they're having an issue with the gas line there.
Well, I know that was one of the reasons why they were waiting to do stuff at that end at Market Basket, because of the gas line, so.
And will the roundabout be completed, or is it gonna stay the way it is with barrels everywhere?
My understanding is that it's gonna stay the way it is for right now.
Okay.
So, but I could totally be wrong about
But
that.
make,
I would
either
think-
way.
I would think the barrels could be an issue, though, come winter and trying to plow,
Why are the barrels there?
just to define the
to train
roundabout.
people.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, it seems like everybody's getting the
Yeah.
routine.
No one's
so,
driven over it in a while.
Yeah.
People were, it took people a little bit, but I think people.
Well, and in the center, some of the brick is now there, so
that's-
there's a little
It
bit of
just-
a curve now, you
Well,
can't just.
that whole center area is
Yeah.
defined now.
Yeah.
so-
It just
Yeah.
makes it so much easier to get in and out of
Oh.
Shaw's, in and out of Spyglass. Like,
Oh,
it's just,
yeah.
it makes.
And it moderates the traffic.
Yeah.
It slows people down.
It's
Yeah.
strange that people need to,
Yeah.
Right,
Yep.
Yep.
to work on,
yep.
and they're getting there.
So that, two other things. So the 2024 budget process, I think we referenced 2023 budget earlier, the 2024 budget process. So I'm gonna have a meeting with the department heads on this coming Friday, so December 2nd. So we're gonna talk about some of the longer term and large scale budgetary picture. Start talking about what we need for them to put forward as part of their budget submissions. What I'm trying to do is trying to come up with a process that's a little bit more, I don't know if inclusive is the right word, but just has people a little bit more involved and kind of in like some of the minutia of budgetary stuff. So we're going to actually look at having some budget workshops in January, late January, with department heads, and have the select board invited and the FinCom invited, and even the
I like that idea.
Great idea. A part of it, and have a couple of those so you can kind of see how things are, and provide input also on what you think and the priorities and stuff. So, you know, that's we're trying to redefine that a little bit better, because we're gonna have to start talking about tough choices, quite frankly, in the next few years. So, so there's that, and then help to turn my mic on.
Yes, it does.
Oh, there you go.
So I'm not going to repeat everything I said. We're going to
Budget workshops in January.
Budget workshops. So, and finally, a little bit on a bittersweet note, we've had a couple of people who have departed or who are departing our ranks. Judy Belcher, who has worked for almost 20 years in between the town hall and then the recreation department. She recently retired. Certainly wish her all the best on her next step and next adventure. Jean Masnick in our treasurer collector's office, she's looking at retiring next week after a decade of work. I'm hoping that she can come to the select board meeting next week at the beginning, and
that'd be great.
We can all wish her well. And then not a retirement, but a departure nonetheless. Emma Snellings, our assistant planner, is taking a job with the Department of Housing and Community Development, and so that's a tremendous loss to our planning staff as well. So Emma's got a bright future ahead, regardless of where she is. So,
she's good.
Definitely
too bad.
gonna miss all three of them.
That's a big loss.
And so that is it.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to board reports. Joe, you want to kick it off?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I'm glad I was sitting down when you just told me about Emma. Holy
Yeah.
mackerel, that's a shock. I wish her well. She's a great person and definitely knows her stuff, and hopefully there'll be a day to say thank you and goodbye to her before she heads out.
I think our last day is Friday.
Is this coming Friday? Oh, wow. Well, I'll have to stop by and say bye.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. Mike already brought up the holiday festivities this coming weekend and next week as well, which is great. If you haven't got your trees, there's two locations, Ashland Lions and Murphy's. Lions support the town throughout the year, so give them the undivided support. And a couple of things. We had two meetings, a Traffic Study Committee meeting and an Affordable Housing Trust meeting. And some good news with respect to the Affordable Housing Trust is that we received information that we're just waiting to hear from the Bank of America with respect to that house that was taken off our rank and file indiscriminately by whoever and whatever was dropped. The action was dropped, and we picked it back up, and looks like we're going to be getting that back. We're just waiting to hear from the bank, which is a good thing. And we're still, I know that we did an RFP with respect to wetland delineation up off of Olive Street. And it was, hopefully it's something that we can work with. And that's a project that we as a committee would like to move that forward and get things rolling, just on the affordability aspect of it. And lastly, the Traffic Study Committee, before we have an issue, and we have at least between 10 to 12 kids that walk from Edgewood to the middle school. Now, there are several other houses on West Union Street that the kids walk with their friends now that they're walking down, and there are no sidewalks. I'm more concerned about the fact that those roads are gonna narrow even more so now with the winter. Hopefully the parents will drive their kids to school. If they don't, these kids are walking on, almost in the, right on the roadway. And in the morning hour, you know how people are not paying attention to what's going on. I just hope we can get through that.
Joe, is that the place we're gonna put in sidewalks?
Well, hopefully, we get to put in sidewalks.
Okay.
When is that? Because we would,
24 or 25?
okay.
Oh, that far off.
That is far off, so, yeah, if we can push that up to some degree, because I walked by there again today, and, on the side of the Valentine property, we have sidewalks from Hicks's property about maybe 2/3 of the way down. And if we can add that sidewalk all the way down to the end of Indian Spring Road, now you're all set, because you have the mobile station, the kids can walk, and then you have the traffic supervisor out there, directing traffic and getting those kids across. But if they're crossing further up the street, one, they'll never get across the street because people aren't letting them through. And secondly, there's no sidewalk up there.
Yeah, so we talked about.
At least a crosswalk.
Yeah, so we talked about doing the sidewalk up there and then also a crosswalk with a flashing beacon.
Yep.
One of those
Okay.
crosswalks as well. I
If-
can't remember the exact location where the crosswalk was. gonna
Okay.
be.
But it's
I
the
would
idea to
hope-
get to the community center from the middle school.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right, that's a pretty good haul, especially in the morning with the
Yeah.
kids, We're not too worried about in the afternoon, but at least in the morning when you get more traffic of folks going to work and stuff. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board, and if there's anything that can be done with respect to moving some funding or moving up a timetable, that would be awesome.
Is that section of 135 ours? Are we responsible for that, or is that state road?
I believe it is ours.
Okay, because I know when we were looking
It's very
I've had a couple of discussions with different people about Fountain, Olive, 135, that whole intersection, and looking at that. And there was question is it a town-owned area that we have to take care of, or is it state?
It's interesting, in a recent meeting with Jack Lewis.
Yeah, we need that
and
link.
Brandy and I had recently, just kind of an update. Jack actually has a map that shows like what is a state-owned road
Right.
and what's not. And the 135 is actually
Divided up.
with no rhyme or reason.
Right.
Well,
It's
and
like-
that's why
it's
it
like-
kept, because I think it was either with him or someone else looking at 135 when we were looking at complete streets is, did we want to spend our money on that intersection, or is it even really ours to do? And we had never gotten a good answer on that.
So I believe that section is ours.
Can the map that you guys got get shared?
We should be able to.
That'd be great.
That would be
I
awesome.
didn't get it, no.
Yeah. If they can get that to us, that'd be
I don't
great. I'd
think
share it with the
yet.
traffic study committee, that would be
Yeah, and
extremely
share it with the
helpful.
traffic study. Yeah.
So, that's all I have, Madam Chair, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we're looking forward to the holiday season coming up, and the menorah lighting, which is great, and Christmas, so, we're into the holiday spirit.
Happy
Holiday
time.
season.
Yeah,
It's a good
absolutely.
time. Good food, too.
Yep. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Yolanda, you're up.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. There is going to be a trails event. It was supposed to be happening in November. It has now gotten pushed to December 12th at Broadmoor. People should have gotten a notification about that.
I was looking, because I was gonna bring that up too.
Yep.
Because I was looking at the list, and I went to you, it went to me, and it went to Michael. And I don't know if it went, and they're talking about, there's a trail event, and then there was also other emails regarding.
So part of what we're trying to do through our connection with MAPC is MAPC has a gentleman who works for them, David Lutznheimer, and he does trail work. And we had a big regional event in the summer, and we've had many events with him. So what he's working on is getting a group together for monthly meetings to talk about trails. And every month there'd be a different either connection or section of the trail of our 9 communities, and then reaching out to both Hopkinton and Sherborne as part of that. So this is sort of it's our next quarterly one, but then that is a kickoff to the monthly meetings that they're looking to have to keep discussing trails.
Okay, yeah, we should definitely have, I don't know whether you were planning to kind of
I'm,
be involved in
I mean,
that.
I'm attending and I'm planning on being involved, one as the chair for Metro West Regional Collaborative, but also as an Ashland representative. And typically, and I didn't double check the invite, I try to at least have one or two of our trails people, like Preston came to the one in the summer, and he's been very involved with that as well.
When is it, Yolanda?
November, I'm sorry, December 12th,
I think it's 3 to 5 p.m.
3 to 5 p.m. at Broadmoor in Natick. Yeah.
There was a series of like 3 emails that came through, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, why it was.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Do you mind sharing it with everyone?
No, I
don't
can
think-
forward that out to
Okay.
everybody. Yeah, I can do
So I was
that.
gonna say, I don't think everyone was on
I
that
think it's one of those
distribution
things where if you're on their mailing list, you've
Yeah.
gotten an invite, and if not, but I can share it out to the rest of the board as well. The other thing, couple of performances people might be interested in, Washington Street Players over in Holliston, at their Holliston Town Hall, is doing a radio show of It's a Wonderful Life. It is happening this Friday and Saturday, and then the 9th and 10th as well. It should be fun. It's the show It's a Wonderful Life, but it's done as a radio show. And then it's that time of year for nutcrackers, and if you are interested in a nutcracker but don't want to go to Boston, Norwood Theater presents the Dancing Arts Center in their nutcracker. That is one of my other jobs, and I will be working on that one. It should be a very nice performance. If you've never been to the Norwood Theater, it is a beautiful space to see a performance. The production is always very nice. You can park for free, you can go have a meal, and it's just, if you haven't seen a nutcracker in a while, it's a fun way to go back into that tradition. And then just wishing everyone a happy holidays. It's hard to believe that tomorrow's December 1st, but it's here, so let's embrace it and enjoy and support each other. And that's all I got.
Okay, thanks, Yolanda.
Yep.
Steve, you're up next.
Okay, a couple things. Number one, I wanted to acknowledge the Ashland Emergency Fund for their support of the Thanksgiving Day giveaway for the families. They're the entity that funded the purchase of the turkeys through Wegmans and the groceries from Market Baskets. So I just wanted to acknowledge them, as well as the Human Services team at the community center, the whole community center team that participated in this. And Jen, of course, is kind of the overseer of this group. So, but it was good. You said about 90 families. So now they're getting ready for the Adopt a Family Christmas program. So that's coming up at some point soon. So that's number one. Number two is I attended the MWRTA community breakfast a few weeks ago, and it was very, very interesting. I'm glad that I went. A couple things that came up that I think would be pertinent for us to consider, or at least get a presentation from the new director. His name is Jim Nee. Nice guy. He's been, actually, I think he came from Lowell. He worked.
Jim Nee's familiar.
Yeah, he's worked in transportation for 20 years. But one of the two things specifically that we should be looking at. Number one is this concept of micro-transit. And micro-transit is a form of Uber or Lyft demand rides that are done by the regional public transportation system. And they're using this in Wellesley is doing it right now, and it started off as a very small program, and it's grown dramatically. The usage has grown dramatically. So this is something that, what I'd like to see us do is invite the administrator to come and speak about it and speak to, how it might be of use for Ashland residents. So that's number one. Number two, there may be some better synergy now to look at the train stations and working with the MWRTA in terms of them managing the stations as well. So that's another thing that I think we've talked about for years.
When you say stations, Framingham, Ashland, Southborough? Or
No, I'm talking Ashland. We
just
live in
Ashland?
yeah.
Oh, you said stations, okay.
Yeah.
Well, 'cause they do
Well, like the
Framingham,
two
so
lots
they
I'm
do
talking
that.
about, right?
So working
Yeah,
together, okay.
and so, you know, we've talked about this for years. We've made efforts to go in, you know, through Senator Spilka and try to get some efforts there. It hasn't worked out at this point, but there may be some opportunities now. So something we should, again, have the administrator come in and we can talk about. So that's that. So I was reading Commonwealth magazine, which is was pretty interesting. There's an article in the most recent issue. It says, "Getting our state parks back on track." And you know, we talk about our state park, and you know, we're not an outlier. There's, you know, the state park system is, according to this article, Massachusetts state parks are in crisis, and there's apparently a $1 billion deferred maintenance hole. And so there was a report done recently, and all kinds of recommendations were made. But one of the things that stuck out to me is none of the recommendations addressed or spoke to including any commentary or discussion with the local host communities and the impacts that the communities that the communities absorb, whether it's public safety related, parking, traffic related, and so on. So that was kind of a gap. But you know, thinking about the fact that we've got 2 state agencies in our town that we're dealing with this, you know, these kind of maintenance and support issues, and it's on our dime. And you know, it seems to me that, you know, and I'm, you know, clearly the state parks are a big problem statewide. You know, I don't know if we're going to get any special treatment at this point in time, but you know, I think we just have to continue to stress the importance of that, the deficiencies or the impacts of the state park on the town of Ashland in terms of public safety, in terms of parking and traffic. And, you know, at the same time, recognize that the state parks are an asset that are important and that need to be maintained and need to be encouraged, particularly because, you know, there's a lot of folks that can't afford other types of activities. So the state parks are important. So that's you know, one thing. And then when you combine that with the condition of our train stations, you know, it's, you know, I don't know how many other communities, you know, kind of have that double whammy that we have. So just something that we need to, I think, keep hammering. So that's that. And then the only other thing I have is the Lions Monthly Senior Breakfast is tomorrow, Thursday, December the 1st. The primary dish tomorrow is the Christmas casserole, traditional Christmas casserole. And so that's tomorrow. And then after that is the monthly Council on Aging meeting. So that's my tune.
So what is a Christmas casserole?
So Christmas casserole is, it's an egg dish.
Okay.
So it's egg, there's cheese, there is, what's that?
Similar to a quiche.
Gotcha.
But no,
Okay.
there's no crust.
There's no crust
Right,
to
but
it.
it's
So
just egg and
it's
all
in a
the different-
pan, it's,
Okay.
yeah. So a quiche, I guess, is a good description.
Okay.
Without the crust.
I was like, is it a breakfast? Is it a lunch?
Yeah,
Is it
yeah,
a
no, it's
breakfast?
definitely
Okay.
breakfast, yeah.
All right, so thank you.
Yeah, so eggy, cheesy, what else
Usually
is in
shove
it?
like meat or anything in
No
there?
meat,
No meat, okay.
no meat, no, there's mushrooms in it,
Oh,
you know,
okay,
so,
all
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Sounds
so
good.
that's on the, stop in.
All right. I'm in the city tomorrow, so I have to do my day job.
Worcester,
But thank you. Are you good? Is that everything?
I'm good, yes.
You're good?
Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Rob, you're up.
Yeah, just one thing, since we had.
These guys are shooting for that 10 o'clock.
You noticed that, right?
Oh, 9:39, it's not a big.
You know, this is, we might want to, instead of a gavel, we might want to get a gong. Remember the gong
We
show?
won't give it to you, though, that's gonna be yours.
Boom.
All right. Just a couple quick things, unlike, one thing, just, a thought occurred to me about the comprehensive plan, you guys on it. The school committee is like halfway through their strategic plan, and so I'm glad you guys are aware of it. It's just, I think it should be important to get involved, get the school committee involved in this process as soon as possible, because they're doing a ton of work, yeah. And Steve's, just remind, I never reported on, I attended about a month, maybe 2 months ago, the survey, the resiliency, climate change survey that Ashland was involved in along with Natick and Framingham. And it was kind of a debriefing with Emma was there doing that, and there was some, it was lightly attended, but there was some good things brought out. And it reminded me, Steve, when you talked about the recreational aspects, that was part of the climate change, and people need ways to stay cool or to get, you know, it was an equity issue as well to, you know, have access to recreation and water, and there's a real shortage of that around here during certain hot summer events, as we've seen. And one of the things that, some of the comments that came out was like, geez, you know, you've got, at Cushing, you got a wonderful playground there that could really use a water feature, for example. And we've got all these unused old reservoirs around here that are public lands and have public access that are not developed. Another one, if you look at, again, across the street from Cushing, Framingham has a wonderful thing they're developing, but there's no beach there. So, you know, the kind of things that people need to, maybe to get at some of these issues, also expand recreational opportunities that shouldn't be real expensive, but if the state or someone should be showing a little more initiative in that area. And the only other thing I wanted to mention was the next week is the Commuter Rail Subcommittee for the MBTA Advisory Board is meeting Wednesday with Representatives Keolis and the MBTA Commuter Rail Director. So they'll be making presentations, and I'll, again, you know, press them on this, the capital plan and the station and what the plans are. So I'll try to do that. So anyway, that's my presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. I only have a couple quick things. One, so I attended an MMA webinar. It was actually the Select Boards Association on affordable housing, and it was really interesting. They had DHCD and, you know, Secretary Keneally, and they were touting some of the grant programs and the what is it, the one-stop program. Yeah. But it was interesting because the questions that came out of from select board members from the Commonwealth was all based on some real practical things that are just that the state's like, oh, you know, there's these grants and you can apply, but you have to have like basically permits in hand to apply for these grants. And so they're like, well, how do you get more developers to want to do affordable housing projects? And that was like a big theme, and that's, you know, so, you know, that's something I know that the trust has been struggling with, is because, you know, there's not a lot of developers that want to do affordable housing projects. And one of the things that they talked about was like the Mass Association of Community Development Corporations, and that those can be resources for communities. So I went on the website and just looked to see. Most of them are in Boston or
Cities,
Lowell
yeah,
or Lawrence, and
Worcester.
not around here.
Isn't Robert Hill Way, didn't they use that entity?
No, that was the diocese.
Okay.
So, but then the only one that's listed in the general area of Metro West is Smock. And I don't think Smock is necessarily in the development business. So it's
Well, they do undertake projects, though.
They do?
Yeah. They did some huge ones when I was there. They did some big ones, so.
Really?
Yeah.
Since Mr. Cuddy has left.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I haven't talked to anybody there for a few years, but you know, they do a lot of housing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, the theme was that the state is really pushing housing, but really there's not a lot of resources to create affordable housing and make it easy and affordable for communities to be able to do it.
And their MBTA housing initiative didn't allow you to do affordable.
Right. Yeah.
So
It's
another
like
example of a burden placed on communities.
Yes.
Yep.
So, you know, and they were talking about like the local initiative program and all the,
Right.
and sort of everything under 40B as like opportunities without talking about sort of the cost to the communities that,
Right.
that have to bear that burden. So, but it was interesting because the questions that came out of the audience were very pointed, and the state really didn't
Yeah,
have
where
any.
the rubber hits the road.
No.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they're going to subsidize some of these projects.
Right.
You
So,
know, like we did with the project on Pond Street. You know, we
Yeah.
subsidized the affordability of 3 units. Now, if they were to do the same thing, I would think that a developer would be more interested in doing something like that and knowing that that money would be readily available. for
No.
them, you know.
they did talk about money that has gone into, like, I guess there was another round of ARPA funds that was funded in this past November, and there was $100 million that was going into affordable housing fund.
In the economic development bill, in the bond bill, they put some of it toward affordable housing and a few other things related to housing like that.
So I don't know, maybe there's ways that can trickle down to, you know, access for our trust to be able to
Maybe that's
access those
something
funds.
we can talk to our legislative representatives
Yeah.
about, the Senate president about,
Yeah.
see if those monies are available for the certain project that we want to get done.
So, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
let you guys know.
Thank
So
you
it's,
for attending and thanks for the update.
it's definitely, we're not the only community that's struggling with that at all, so. And the only other thing that I wanted to do is just give a shout out to the health department. I was at the clinic this last
yeah.
weekend in Town Hall on Saturday, which was great. So they were doing flu and COVID, and I got I finally became eligible for the COVID booster, so I got my COVID booster on Saturday. But everyone I talked to that came, I mean, it was packed, like they had a lot of people here.
That's good.
And people were they were like, oh, this is great. It's so
Yeah.
much easier than going to Walgreens. It's so much
Yeah,
easier
Raj
than
is doing a
dealing with
great
it.
job with them.
So it was Raj and Laura and Jess. So they're a great team. So I think they're doing more clinics, and I would recommend anyone that's
Yeah,
looking for
are they,
flu
in
or
a couple
COVID.
weeks, are they doing any more? Do you know the schedule?
I think it's coming up soon.
I think they are doing another one. I don't have a date, but we can certainly.
Yeah. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
just
good
they
stuff,
did
yeah.
they did a great job. So, and the only other thing I wanted to just remind folks of is we actually have a meeting next week, which is the 7th. That is our last currently scheduled meeting for December for the year, and then we will go back to the first and third Wednesdays starting in the new year. So,
What's the agenda starting to look like? Is there an agenda?
an agenda for next week.
next week, yeah.
We actually have some.
Yes,
Yeah,
I know.
we actually have some stuff.
Okay.
Some stuff on there.
And all the renewals, right?
Oh,
So
we're
we'll
gonna
have-
do the renewals, okay.
We'll have a.
You may not be there.
No, I
Yeah, we're
don't.
gonna-
It's
we're
the
gonna
clerk.
have,
It's the clerk.
And we'll have Mina John from the library. She's going to do a report on their strategic plan.
Oh, okay.
The libraries. So,
Very nice.
so unless anyone else has anything else to add, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned at 9:48, just in the nick of time. And we'll see you next week. Thank you. Have a good night.
Did anyone register